It's time for MacBreak Weekly. Christina Warren is back. Andy Inako is here. Jason Snell, too. And, of course, the big story, Apple sues OpenAI, and the details are mind-boggling. We'll talk about it. We'll also talk about the new public betas and whether you should install them, including Apple Watch, iOS, and Golden Gate. MacBreak Weekly. Open up your Golden Gate. It's next. This episode is brought to you by Black Hat USA. If you listen to this show, you go deep on the technical detail. Well, so does Black Hat. For nearly 3 decades, it's been where the security industry's most rigorous research gets presented and pressure tested. More than 100 hands-on trainings taught by practitioners who actually deployed in live environments, not lecturers reading from slides, and hundreds of peer-reviewed briefings that go well past the overview into the real work across the 4 areas defining security right now: AI and autonomous threats, cyber conflict, systemic resilience, and identity. This year, Black Hat's Briefings Pass includes all keynotes and main stage access, plus business hall entry. You also get breakfast, lunch, Arsenal live tool demos, on-demand session access, and admission to the Midnight in the War Room screening. Black Hat takes place from August 1st to the 6th in Las Vegas. If you want the depth this show gets into in person with the people doing the work, this is the room, and we'll be there too. Prices rise on July 17th, so book before then. Use the code TWIT for $200 off your Briefings Pass at blackhat.com/US-26. That's BLACKHAT.com/US-26.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is MacBreak Weekly, episode 1033, recorded Tuesday, July 14th, 2026. Liquid glass, half full. It's time for MacBreak Weekly, the show we cover the latest Apple news. Too bad it's such a slow day in Apple land. Woo! Christina Warren is here, for Developer Relations at GitHub. What team is that you're wearing? Are you all excited about the World Cup?
No, because obviously I was flying over the world as the United States lost.
Yeah, welcome back.
Yeah, thank you. Although go England, I guess at this point I don't even know who I'm rooting for. But this is a GitHub jersey actually that we made.
Look at that!
Yeah, cool.
Super cool.
Yeah.
And they decided to not really stick to any one color scheme. You've got
I know.
green checks.
It's just
got
everything.
Pink, you got stripe. You got Yankees on one sleeve.
I know.
You got Liverpool on the other. I don't know what that is. Anyway, nice.
It's an amalgamation, but it was a fun. It's
really cool.
jersey,
Was that part of the going to Berlin?
It was actually.
prizes?
I mean, I think that we sell them on the
I'm going
shop.
to buy one
I think
right now.
If we do, I'm not sure. If we don't, I apologize. I'll have to check on that. But yeah, no, we wore them during the booth, which was really fun. So it was nice.
Fun. GitHub has the best merch.
Honestly, our team does a great job. So thank you for saying that.
Oh, you can't search for GitHub store because you know why? You find a lot of GitHub repos about stores.
It's the GitHub. It's the GitHubShop.com.
Well, that's easy. All right. Look at all the repos I came up with. Also here from the library, it is Mr. Andrew Inako. Hello, Andy.
Hello, and yeah, I'm distracted because I am now scrolling through the GitHubShop.com and trying to, because that would be see the great thing about these kinds of shirts is that it's like a shibboleth, like when you're just like in the city or just like at an event, and suddenly from the across that person knows what GitHub is and likes it enough to buy a shirt. My compadre, I know this person, a member of my tribe.
We do need a AI shirt. I think that would be very interesting.
Oh man, that soccer ball is. I have no need for a soccer ball, but I have.
They have a
desire
GitHub.
for a soccer
Look at
ball.
all this. Look at these silly Cabana shorts.
Yeah.
The Mona drink float.
That is so cute. We also have a hoodie can cozy, which is looks like the GitHub hoodie, but it's for your beer can or soda can. It's incredibly cute.
Oh, that's so cute. If I drank more soda or beer, I would do it. Also with us, Jason Snell from sixcolors.com, who
Hello.
I imagine has been just a touch busy over
Quiet
the last few
time,
days.
sleeping late, going to bed early, taking
here's
a
the-
nap.
here's the good news. In 2 weeks, you're going to have Apple quarterly results. So
I know, finally, some news. Finally.
All the calluses you're getting on your fingertips now will pay off.
It's true.
So there's two stories, and I don't know which one to start with. I probably should start with the fact that the public beta is out, but we'll get to that because there's the GitHub Football Club jersey. It is a long show. We've got time. $80, but boy, look at all the different. You'd look like a jockey in that thing. So on Friday, OpenAI sued Apple. I'm sorry, Apple sued OpenAI. Everybody's suing OpenAI.
Yep, they're like the Beatles in 1971.
Suing anybody. Elon lost. He sued OpenAI. New York Times is suing him right now. That's still in court. And now the newest one is Apple saying, you stole our engineers. A couple of hundred, but the key one is Tang Tan.
Not bigger than engineers. Like the court filing goes into parametric detail. They're trying to the scope that they're laying out is not simply that, hey, you're hiring away some of our people, not even that, hey, some of the people you're hiring away brought with them some Apple secrets. They outline step by step by step. You are trying to instead of trying to build the experience and the expertise of the entire stack of building hardware, you are stealing Apple's entire stack from the talent, the technology, the industry contacts, processes, manufacturing, relationships with international manufacturers. Every single thing that Apple has learned about making an iPhone or making a technological device, including like the internal processes for agreeing on how to go forward, they're listing in this court filing saying they have stolen absolutely everything. And subtext, we have no insight into, this is the thing, they say this 2 or 3 times, we have no insight into OpenAI, despite the fact that they have insight to us. So therefore, they are going to, in the discovery phase, just hold them upside down and shake them until everything that they have learned about Apple gets tumbled out in discovery. This is a Donnybrook this is a rhubarb that has exploded to a full-blown Donnybrook.
So Tang Tan spent 24 years at Apple. I mean, he's a company guy. He eventually became a senior executive on the product design team responsible for iPhone, AirPods, Apple Watch, worked closely with Johnny Ive, and in fact left Apple. Now, this is interesting. 2 years ago, to go with Johnny Ive to start products. Remember Johnny Ive and Sam Altman sitting in a bar talking. What we didn't know at the time was Johnny was dragging some people along with him, including Tang Tan.
I think at that point maybe they had already started I/O, so he had Tang Tan and Evans Hankey at that point. But by the way, an interesting story that has come out in the last week is that Tang Tan apparently was vying for the same job that John Turnus got and didn't get it, and that Tang Tan and John Turnus were rivals and maybe even didn't particularly like each other. It's hard to like your rival. And, part of the story is the human story, that people who feel like they're not being valued, they didn't get the promotion they wanted, they didn't get the job they wanted, are the most likely people to leave. And that's just human nature. I also want to say, speaking of people, OpenAI hiring people from Apple is not in the lawsuit. It's not illegal. In California, you can't even have a non-compete.
In fact, Steve Jobs got in a lot of trouble for that. It's an antitrust violation.
I was going to say part of the reason that it's illegal in California is because of Apple.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the non-compete's been there for a while, but then they broke the law of like colluding to not hire other people.
Right.
So, and that's why when we're talking about this case,
that's a federal law, by the way. That's not just a California law. That's antitrust law.
I want to make it clear that I think part of this that we need to set aside when we're talking about this is the idea that people are free to leave Apple and go somewhere else and use their knowledge and expertise in their industry to do a different job for a different company. They are free to do that. That is how it works. People shouldn't be trapped at Apple forever, unable to leave and then Apple pays them whatever Apple feels is right. That's not how we do it.
In fact, that's why it's an antitrust law, because if you say, don't poach our employees, what you're really saying is let's
Right.
agree to keep salaries low
Exactly.
because they can't negotiate against
And then
us.
non-competes do the same thing because you're
Right.
basically saying you can't ply your trade anywhere, which is ridiculous because that's how you do your job. And so in California, you can't do that either.
OpenAI's response to this is we do not steal trade secrets. This is
Yeah,
not something
we're not
we do.
interested in trade
A single
secrets
tweet. Yeah.
or something. Yeah. So
Well,
that's
there'll be a
that-
court response, but that's the tweet response.
The other part of this is the rest of it, right? So it's not the people. It's not taking 400 people from Apple. They're allowed to do that. They paid them. I think you got a lot of people who worked at Apple a long time who are kind of bored with doing another revision of the iPhone. Apple doesn't traditionally pay at the top of the pay scale in Silicon Valley. You get sort of like, you get paid well, but also you get the glory of Apple. And so they got hired to get more money, a better title, and do an interesting challenge for a new company. I could see why they'd want to go. The thing about the lawsuit is what Apple is essentially alleging and using these particular people as evidence of it, especially the one gentleman who we'll talk about, I'm sure. What they're saying is OpenAI seems to have built a strategy to exfiltrate as much secret employee-only documentation as possible out of Apple for them to use, and also potentially, allegedly, misrepresenting themselves to suppliers, as Andy said, in order to get information from them, and also possibly inducing potential future OpenAI employees who are currently Apple employees to bring secret stuff out of Apple to show them. And that's the core of the argument. Trade secrets is a hard thing to argue, but I want to be clear about that. Like, the issue isn't the people's knowledge. The issue is that OpenAI seems to have, according to Apple's lawsuit, and it's one-sided, it's just Apple, seems to have felt the people weren't enough. They also wanted as much documentation as they could get. And that's where it starts to feel like, now maybe this is a conspiracy to steal trade secrets and not just a strategy to hire good people from Apple.
Let me throw some more facts at you. We can continue to discuss, but there's some fascinating, juicy tidbits in here. But you need to understand the reason that OpenAI bought products, Johnny Ive, Evan Hanke, and Tang Tan, for $6.2 billion. They even said this in that lovely scene where they're sitting at a bar. They want to make a device. We didn't know what the device was. OpenAI says, we want to ship a device this year. They also have a filing for an IPO, which I think now will be delayed, perhaps because of this, but maybe because of other adverse circumstances, including President Trump's, blockage of certain AI models. But they are building a device, and they did seem to acquire a team of device design people when they bought products. There was even an allegation that when Apple interviewed people, they asked them to bring their company laptop.
OpenAI, yeah.
That's insane.
I keep saying Apple and OpenAI confused.
Right.
Obviously,
Right.
OpenAI.
And that's the
employees.
pattern they want to point out, is that
Right.
they don't just want the people, because again, they're allowed to want the people, but they want the people to bring the stuff and show them the stuff and copy the stuff or spirit it away from Apple before they go forward themselves a bunch of documents and all of that. And that's where it gets kind of extra wild, is this idea that they're building a larger structure. And Leo, I think the first point you made there is maybe the most important in this entire story, which is, feels to me like OpenAI really, really, really wants to start shipping hardware products.
Yeah.
And when I look at the big picture of why would they, look, these are brilliant people who worked at Apple, 400 people supposedly who worked at Apple, who OpenAI hired to come work for them. Are they not capable of building a world-class product? Yes. But so why try allegedly to steal all this information? I think the answer is they wanted to take a shortcut because they felt like time pressured and they wanted to ship products faster.
Yeah.
And so they're like, well, replicating everything from Apple is hard. What if we could just take those documents and not just kind of rely on our own noggins?
Is that credible, though? You've got Johnny Ive, you've got Evans Hanke, you've got Tang Tan. You also have another engineer, Chang Lu, who's also named in the
He's in
lawsuit.
trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Lou, now, one of the things that's interesting is that, remember, Tang Tan left Apple 2 years before this lawsuit. So I don't know how much material Tang Tan would have or whether it's germane. It's 2 years old. Chang Lu, though, according to Apple's complaint, allegedly, quote, exploited a rare, previously unknown authentication bug that allowed access to the company network. Now, that is an interesting thing, which would be provable, right? That you have logs.
Yes.
It's apparently so. They also document that he had an Apple company laptop that he did not return, and even though he was pestered about it, and he was using this laptop because apparently it took a while for his authentication for the network to go away, and then even then he, as you mentioned, he was exploiting, as Apple alleges, a network flaw to continue to access this stuff. Not only that, but
first of all, does not Apple have a way to keep employees from walking out the door with their laptop? Does not Apple routinely, when you leave the company, disconnect?
Well, okay, he works in the hardware division, right? So let's just be kind of logical about this. If he works in the hardware division, that means he probably worked in different prototypes. He had to have access to things that maybe were Apple property, but weren't going to have the same type of device
People
management.
bring stuff home for testing. Sure.
Well, not only that, but like sometimes there are just having worked at big companies before. Yes, there are policies in about hardware, about like phones and laptops and desktops and other things. But then there are items that you have that maybe you do have access to the network, and maybe you can even get a bypass for it, but for reasons that are actually very important to the testing, cannot be on the company network and be given access to all the company security stuff. So that's a possibility. That's maybe how you could get something lost. Now, would that laptop be able to access authenticated Apple stuff? I don't know. That is a question for Apple's IT as much as it is for anything else. But it doesn't strike me as being completely like out of pocket for Apple to not know that a guy who was very high up in their hardware division happened to have an extra laptop. I'm sure that when the first time I left Microsoft, I gave them hardware that they didn't have any record of me ever owning, right? Yeah. So these companies, I think we sometimes think that they're better than they are about certain things, and that's just not the case.
I would think Apple be the best in the business. But
I would too, but again, if you work in the hardware division, there can be very valid reasons why you might have a prototype, you might have something else, or you might even have like a device that's a consumer device that you've been issued that, like I said, isn't going to be referenced anywhere or in any system. Now, if that can access the network and other things, like I said, that's a broader question for Apple IT, but it doesn't surprise me in the slightest that someone might have an extra piece of hardware in their collection that they didn't turn back in.
Let me read a little more from the complaint. Apple said that Lou took dozens of Apple's confidential hardware-related files, this is from TechCrunch, over the course of several weeks while working as an OpenAI employee. Again, this would be very provable. You would have logs. Apple said the files contained detailed information about unreleased products, engineering presentations, technical specifications, and proprietary project data. The company says Lou failed to return the Apple-issued work laptop he'd previously used to access Apple's network. He allegedly claimed to have another computer, and while he was at OpenAI, Apple alleges Lou misused the access of an acquaintance, Yu-Ting Peng, who was currently at Apple, later went to work for OpenAI. Lou allegedly used Peng's Apple-issued work laptop while she was still employed at Apple and he was not. Again, this is provable. There's, they wouldn't assert this, I think.
Right.
Well, this is completely provable. Apple said that during February of this year, when Lou was at OpenAI, he tried to access Apple's network storage, a cloud-based file repository containing Apple's confidential engineering files, project documentation, and other proprietary information. He allegedly discovered he could still access the network repository. And then, and this really is the smoking gun, sent an email to Peng, who was still at Apple, saying, quote, LOL, I found out I can access the network storage. So funny.
Yeah, speaking about funny is that when you read the claim, a lot of it implies that he was doing a lot of this malfeasance on an Apple-owned laptop, and that Apple basically had full access to all these conversations.
They're watching it.
You wonder if it was like, we know that we don't want to just stop this one person from getting this one document. We are going to build as big and solid a case against OpenAI as we possibly can, and then we're not going to let the hammer fall until we got them. That we can basically shut down OpenAI from building. I'm sorry, just to tie things up. A lawsuit of this scope could possibly allow Apple to forbid OpenAI from shipping any piece of hardware by alleging that, look, this is used as proprietary Apple information. So therefore, you are effectively out of the AI business until you successfully defend against this lawsuit.
Apple says they attempted for 2 years to get this stuff back, and OpenAI did not cooperate. In fact, did not even respond to their cease and desist. So they were forced, I tell you, to file this lawsuit. That's why it took 2 years.
We cried when we emailed the PDF to the courts.
Well, I think what they've got is they've got the smoking gun. And even if you read the lawsuit, it says they don't know. They're like, we think this is the tip of the iceberg, but we don't know. And OpenAI isn't talking. And I think there's a real disconnect between some of the allegations, which are, oh, they brought an eyes-only document or whatever, which is like, is that even illegal? Maybe it's against their terms of employment, and those individual employees might be responsible for something. But I think what Apple is saying is, based on what we know from this one guy and his friend who worked at Apple, who then helped him and then came over to OpenAI, and some of the other patterns that they're laying out in the lawsuit about asking employees to bring information with them, that Apple's alleging that they think there's a conspiracy here that is much larger to take all of this data from Apple in order to advance their hardware design plans. And I think Apple doesn't really know or can't prove. And that's why I think a lot of this lawsuit is basically like, well, this looks really bad. The extenuating circumstances are very suspicious. We'd like to do some discovery, please. Right? That's basically what they're saying here. Is we don't know, and the truth is,
but they have
it might just be this. It might there's some stuff, but like
it says, for instance, in the pleading, messages left on an Apple-issued work laptop revealed Mr. Liu also coached Peng on ways to quote.
Sure.
But they've got the messages. Avoid trouble with the security.
But is it just them? Is it just them, or was this happening 50 other ways?
Right.
Yes.
OpenAI. If OpenAI has a larger conspiracy, they seem to not be able to see it, but they say that there are enough edges around this in terms of what people are asking and their patterns of behavior. And I suspect, not said in the lawsuit, I suspect one of the ways that Apple found out about this, it's sort of alluded to in the lawsuit, is not all the people that OpenAI interviewed and asked to bring confidential materials and all of that, not all of them took jobs at OpenAI. And I suspect some of them went back to their managers and said, did you know what OpenAI is doing? And that got to the hires up
You're
too,
right. They're trying to prove a pattern here in the pleading. And as Apple continued investigating, a broader pattern emerged. Mr. Liu was not the only one using Apple's proprietary information to OpenAI's advantage. Other former Apple employees who'd gone to work for OpenAI emailed themselves Apple confidential information to personal accounts on their way out the door. Others were improperly using their knowledge of Apple's confidential and trade secret information to assist OpenAI in developing hardware. You're right. This is a larger attempt to establish a pattern on OpenAI's part.
That's the only way they can get access to discovery. I mean, that's the only way that they get access to discovery is if they show this as a bigger thing. Because otherwise, looking at this, granted, like there are a lot of really salacious details, and we can talk about how dumb all these people are and the ways that they are, violating, rules and potentially laws by taking information out the way that they should, and how dumb people are for, using personal accounts on corporate devices when communicating about these things. But the bigger question is, and this is what a judge will have to decide, is do the actions of one or two individuals indicate a pattern that then OpenAI is now forced to adhere to these terms of discovery? Because the discovery terms are incredibly broad. And that's obviously, what Apple wants. But it'll be up to a court to decide, okay, how much of this is potentially a real pattern that will necessitate discovery, and how much of this is, okay, there were a few employees who, acting rogue, were spreading information around and, potentially coaching people on how to siphon information out. But that wasn't done at the directive of anyone in upper management at OpenAI, and certainly not, a common hiring practice.
Tang, remember this, former Apple vice president, directed job candidates coming to OpenAI job interviews to, quote, bring actual parts from Apple to their interviews for, quote, show and tell sessions. in which he and his team at OpenAI can elicit still more Apple confidential information. That's actually
amazing.
Stuff.
Anybody who did that, I just have to say, like, if you ever, I don't care who the company is, I don't care if it's your dream company, if anybody is ever asking you to do anything like that and you agree, you are dumb. You were so dumb. Like, you were so dumb. Like,
these directions to bring Apple parts to OpenAI job interviews surprised at least one of the candidates who commented that, quote, he didn't even know we could take those from the office. Apple. Now, this is where Apple is trying to establish the broader conspiracy. Oh, they say, and this is an assertion, not proof, OpenAI has been instructing Apple employees to, quote, bring CAD design artifacts and prototypes to their interviews and divulge details about their work, such as, quote, subsystem and component selection, the tools or methodologies you use for system integration, such as CAD software simulation tools, and vendor selection and communication collaboration with vendors. I think they don't assert this unless they have some A, substantial proof on their servers, and B, a strong suspicion that Discovery is going to further prove this.
And see, at least somebody who was not named in the lawsuit cooperated with them, right? Like, I have a feeling that it was interesting that they named a couple of people and then some people were mentioned, but the lawsuit was not against them, which to me says, okay, we caught somebody dead to rights. They've basically made a deal with us. And it's possible another lawsuit could be incoming, but it seems like, at least in some cases,
notably, Johnny Ive is not mentioned at all.
And it would surprise me if he were, because someone of his level, I don't think he's involved in any day-to-day hiring
too smart
at all.
To do
Tang Tan.
this.
So Tang Tan, Evans Hankey, who is a designer, head of design, and Johnny Ive, they all work together on iPhones and stuff at Apple, and they are listed as the three co-founders of IO, which is the hardware startup that they built outside of Love From and outside of OpenAI, essentially to build hardware for OpenAI. And at the top of the lawsuit, Apple basically says you should consider IO essentially a shell company of OpenAI. They're like, don't even pretend that this is a different company. It's OpenAI. But Tang Tan is, and Evans Hankey are the primaries there. We know that Johnny Ive is there, but he's probably not involved day to day. And how does that break down? There's the hardware side and the design side. So Tang Tan, if we're hiring a bunch of hardware people from Apple, Tang Tan is the head of that, right? And so that's why they're saying Tang Tan is the one they suspect, by naming him, is ultimately responsible for whatever strategy this is and whatever they're doing. And again, it's all Apple allegations. They haven't responded to it, but this is what Apple is saying, is that they have this plan.
The classic disgruntled employee said, you passed me over for Turnus. I designed this thing. Screw you. I'm going somewhere else, and I'm taking a bunch of people with me.
And that's fine, right? But then why?
You can't suborn Apple employees then to violate their own confidentiality agreements. And as to I.O., it's actually, the pleading is hysterical. I.O. is this says in the pleading, an alter ego of OpenAI. In fact, corporate filings for OpenAI say that the CEO, secretary, and CFO of I.O. is an employee of OpenAI and has been since 2023. Yeah. So it's now they're asserting, in a way, implying that I.O. is a shell company that was set up.
Absolutely.
Purely. In fact, they call it a corporate shell entity.
Right, because they don't want OpenAI to say, it wasn't us. It wasn't us.
Yeah. Trade secret information and other intellectual property in violation of the law. Wow. Yeah. So now we all know that there is always a risk. We learned this in the Apple Epic case. When you turn people upside down and shake them, Discovery can also produce embarrassing details on your side. Mm-hmm. And Apple knows that better than anybody. Of course. However, I have to think they feel like they've got them dead to rights.
It feels like Apple feels the preponderance of any discovery would be OpenAI discovery, because it does feel like a one-way flow here, right? That the allegations are that OpenAI has done this, and OpenAI can come back and countersue or whatever. But again, I'm not quite sure what they're going to get out of Apple. And yeah, you've got to think that they've calculated this all out. And I've seen some commenters who've said, why are they doing this? It's because they're scared, or they're grumpy, or they're behind in AI and all of those things. It's like, well, first off, they're what are they supposed to do if they discover that one of the other tech giants in AI has decided decided to put them in their sites, their most valuable product in their sites, and has gone on a hiring spree. And you're like, you can't do anything about that. But then you discover that they're also kind of like plotting to steal all of your stuff so that they can get even further ahead. They don't want to just knock off the iPhone 17. They want to knock off the iPhone 19 that's not out for 2 years or a year and a half, right? Like that is when you got to say something at that point, regardless, like, because that's not let it roll off your back territory. Then it's like, oh, they're just trying to eat us alive.
Well, not just that, but like I said, the first sections of this filing basically makes this linear argument that it wasn't just, we're not just upset that, oh, you stole our battery technology or we have this aluminum process that you stole. It really is all the way down to who in this country should I email if I'm trying to get a relationship going about this? What is the diplomatic process for arranging a contract like that? It makes the case to the court that, look, we have spent 10 to 20 years developing not just a special battery for the iPhone, but a whole mechanism, a whole country, so to speak, of techniques and information and expertise and experience that allows us to basically do everything that we do as a hardware manufacturer. And it says explicitly, and basically they decided that instead of acquiring this information on their own and building up their own business, they simply wanted to start at third base, so to speak, by taking everything. So again, it's not about this battery. It is about everything that Apple has ever learned about iPhone manufacture. And for that reason, like Jason said, you can't just simply try to negotiate a way out of this in a settlement. It's like, no, you have to hit hard. Again, lastly, specifically because if it's not just a rogue employee who wants to dazzle in an interview with a competitor and say, hey, shifty, I've got this thing that I kind of I can show you, and I'll break my NDA in order to give this technology. When they are when OpenAI, as is alleged, is creating a pipeline and a mechanism for exfiltrating information out of Apple through multiple conduits, this is warfare, and you have to strike back.
Yeah. It's wow. It's kind of salacious.
Wow.
It's incredibly salacious. I do wonder if we are, because I mean, again, like as Jason pointed out, this is one side of the lawsuit. Right. And I think that we have to keep that into mind. Even like as dead to rights isn't as bad as things look, and they might be this bad, right? But this is one assertion. And so I think sometimes like we look at this, and obviously the most salacious details are going to be up top. The things that they have, the strongest proof of are going to be up top. But when I look at this, I can't help but like, as like a person who's worked at big tech companies, who knows about what some of the policies are around leaving things, who worked at Google after Anthony Lewandowski did, and knows firsthand like how compromised, in my opinion, all the working environment then became at Google after that moment because of the fact that they have to lock down machines so much, especially when people leave, even to the point that even while you're working there, you can't have external drives and all kinds of stuff like that. So I know that these sorts of concerns are real, but when I look at a lawsuit like this, I still can't help but think, okay, how much of this is specific to one person or sets of individuals, and how much of this can actually be proven to be systemic for a company, to the extent that you are required to share, all of your own discovery with the court. Because as like, and again, I'm not defending any of the things that are coming out here. It's terrible and dumb, I think, for anybody to go along with it. But let's say that they did get a lot of this information from Apple. There's part of me that wonders, okay, how much can this even help you catch up?
Yeah,
because
it's 2 years old. In
some of it is 2 years old, but in some cases, it's like if you did the work, I can understand. I mean, I think this was one of the arguments that Anthony Lewandowski made when he was being sued for after leaving Google. He went to a company that was acquired by Uber. He did much of the same work that he did while employed by Google and Waymo. And I think that, his personal way that he kind of got around it was, well, I already did this one time. I shouldn't have to redo the work a second time. This was my original intellectual property anyway. And it's like, no, actually it belonged to your former employer. But in some of these cases, I do wonder, I'm like, okay, how useful are these specific parts, and how useful are these exercises? And isn't OpenAI going to have to build its own relationship with manufacturers from the ground up anyway, right? So like, there's a certain part of me that wonders, which makes this that much dumber. It's like, okay, so why even instruct people to come in with this sort of stuff? There's nothing that you can really glean from it that is going to help you get out in front that much faster, where you're not still going to have to do the hard work of building up the supplier relationships, building up your own tooling, and doing all of those things. I don't know. It's just that's the part of it that strikes me as odd, which is why would you go through all this trouble about this type of information?
I have an answer.
Okay.
Which is spite. I mean, not to put too fine a point on it, I think that there is a suggestion here that some of these people were kind of disgruntled,
sure,
and feel like they're sticking it to Apple by taking their stuff and working for a competitor. And I think that's where you end up going from being, playing fair and being a tough competitor to maybe making some dumb mistakes that are. I also wonder about the pressure. If OpenAI feels this incredible pressure on the hardware side, they spent so much money trying to set up this thing, and maybe some of the people there feel like they really want to cut some corners, take some shortcuts to get where they were at Apple so they can start shipping faster, and pressure makes people make bad decisions too. So my guess is some combination of people who actually kind of left Apple and feel like they are going to stick it to Apple, even though, like you said, it's this feeling like that belongs to me, but it doesn't actually belong to you. Only what's in your head belongs to you, and maybe some pressure to ship hardware faster. Because remember, that's part of this too. Is Sam Altman's out there saying, "Hey, Johnny Ive and I are going to start shipping amazing products soon," and then the people who are actually having to start that process are like, "Geez, that's really ambitious. How are we going to do this?" And maybe, somewhere along the chain, they're like, well, let's just sort of spirit away some of those Apple documents that we were relying on, because that'll help us out. I don't know. And I don't know what Apple's end game here is, other than I think we got to be fair and say, I think one of the reasons Apple is doing this is because Apple is trying to put a chilling effect on people leaving Apple, which, again, I don't love, because people should have the right to go where they go and get paid what they can get paid. But I think that's part of it. And then maybe the other part of it is sending a message to Apple's own employees that, what's Apple's is Apple's and what's yours is yours, and that you need to know the difference. And I think that's part of it. If they can put the hurt on OpenAI and embarrass them and slow down their hardware project, I think that's a bonus to them.
Yeah, you don't think it's a primary reason? It's not to stymie OpenAI?
How do they stop it? I mean, ultimately, I don't think a judge is going to say, all right, OpenAI, you've got to throw out all those things and forget everything and start at the beginning. And every piece of hardware that you build for the next 2 years, I'm going to have to review it and make sure that it's okay. I just can't imagine anything like that.
I think do that, though, is Whiteboard, the intellectual property organization, could prevent OpenAI from importing phones made in China because...
I mean, they could, but I think it's more likely that what they're going to get at most is an admission that certain employees broke the rules, and maybe those employees have to be disciplined, or maybe there are individual cases against those people.
Flew a little close to this.
Oh yeah,
there's some real danger for individuals at OpenAI now.
Yeah, so I was going to say, I think these people get Chris Eaglered, right? Like, I think that they just get asked to go away.
One of the reasons Apple might be upset is that when Tan said, "I'm leaving," they respected him so much, they gave him a long period of time to make the transition, to train his replacements. They didn't see him as a future competitor. They saw him as a long 24-year trusted employee that they were going to treat with dignity. Mark Gurman has some additional information. He says Tang, he's got an insider who asked not to be identified. He says Tan was famous for taking risks at Apple and, quote, flying very close to the sun. Tang is well known for moving fast, playing fast and loose, and breaking things. So now who knows? That's just one guy inside the design division, no doubt, that's talking to Mark Gurman. Yeah. But it could be that Apple is deeply hurt by this person that they trusted, that they respected, they'd worked with for a quarter century, doing this to them. Yeah, it could be that simple.
It could be. You're right. It could be weird if this turns into like what a lot of what drove the Samsung lawsuits was not just simply, hey, you stole our intellectual property, but we are angered by what we feel you did to us, and we feel like we have to put the hurt on you as a result. And so it's hard to know exactly how. And it also bears mentioning that this is 4 days old. All it is a court filing. It is probably going to take a couple of years before it progresses to an extent where Apple could even get enough muscle in the course to say, you know what, we're going to be moving to create a block towards importing any OpenAI hardware into the United States.
So do you think OpenAI goes ahead and makes the device? And
I think they do until they're absolutely ordered not to.
Damn the Apple torpedoes, full speed ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on how far along they are, right? Like, I mean, I think that's also one of the determining factors. How far along are you? This guy's only worked there since January, February, really, right?
Remember, though, Paul Mead, who was in charge of Apple's glasses division, also defected recently.
Yeah, okay, but who cares? I'm saying the person that they named was hired, it stopped working at Apple in January.
Right.
So we're talking about 6 months worth of time.
Right.
So, and like, they are not alleging in the lawsuit, even though they are talking about how Apple has hired all these people away, or not Apple, OpenAI. Okay,
400 engineers.
Okay, well, I mean, sure, but also the hiring time right now, everybody is going to big frontier labs if they have mobility to do so.
I'm sure Meta's done the same. You know.
Absolutely. I was going to say, if you look at the defection numbers at those places, 400 actually strikes me as kind of low. Right. So, I mean, honestly, and as Jason said, Apple is not paying top of band. People are, I'm sure, wanted opportunities to work on different things. So, okay, so this particular lawsuit, yes, obviously your entire design team got up and left, started their own thing, and now works for OpenAI. Yes, clearly, because many years have passed, they're going to recruit from within. Yes, they have the right to do that. That's all fine. But this particular, people who were named, it's like we're talking about 6 months period of time. And so unless you could, in my mind, demonstrably prove that everything that's happened up until that 6 month period of time was also tainted, I don't think that you stop if you really are close to shipping something. But I think that depends on how far away or close you are. And we'll just have to see, because like Andy said, this could potentially take years. One last thing I want to say, because I thought it was pressing that Andy brought this up. When we mentioned the Samsung lawsuit, I do understand, I think, like, Apple's perspective on that was, like Andy said, was a lot of it was just more like this is just wrong, and for spite space, even if this doesn't actually help us, we're just going to go forward with this and make your life miserable. But if you look at what the actual end game was, because that was a question Jason had too, I mean, Samsung continues to dominate in the mobile phone industry. Okay, they had to change, the shape of some of their icons. But all phones essentially look the same. Apple has absolutely taken design cues from other manufacturers since that lawsuit too. iOS and Android steal elements from one another all the time.
Yep.
And so, what was really achieved by that, right? Like, I'm all for a good spite lawsuit. Like, let's go for it. Like, it's fun. It's fun for me as somebody, as long as I'm not a party to it. Like, I enjoy it. But when we think about, like, what is the actual end goal of this, I don't know what this really changes, except potentially, to Jason's point, maybe making people think twice before leaving, or at least being smarter about how they leave. And then I am going to say, I think that part of the goal of this, even one of the primary goals, even if it comes from a place of spite, is that they want to deter or at least decelerate any momentum that OpenAI might have on the hardware front.
Let's not forget that Apple and OpenAI were bosom buddies as recently as a year ago. They had a deal to use ChatGPT. It's still in the iPhone as the model. That's from OpenAI. This is a breach, and may explain why they went to Anthropic in the end. The other thing that is important to point out, there's been a drumbeat over the last few months of how untrustworthy Sam Altman is and how untrustworthy OpenAI is. As soon as this lawsuit came out, Elon Musk jumped on it. See, I told you he was a liar and a cheat. There was that New Yorker article which basically, implied that Sam Altman was completely untrustworthy and kind of a slime bag. There's the general feeling in the world that AI companies at large are stealing our intellectual property and putting creatives out of work. This is a blow to, at least reputationally, to OpenAI. Do you think? I mean, this kind of confirms what the gestalt is, the general feeling among the public about OpenAI and Sam Altman.
I think you might have a point about AI in general. Look, just for the 4th of July, Google did a funny little video about, hey, what if the founding fathers creating the Declaration and improving the Declaration of Independence had used Google
so
Workspace?
annoying.
And the thing is, like, when I saw the headlines about it, it was like, oh, AI will ruin everything. This is so tone deaf. Then I saw the video. It's like there's like maybe a couple of moments in which there's any AI whatsoever, and that indicates to me that anytime AI is like MSG, where anytime you mention it, people are going to recoil whether it is relevant or important or not. And so that's gonna beat down AI even more. But I am really interested to see how that affects Apple's relationship with ChatGPT on various platforms. I imagine that's going to be well partitioned off, and that Apple couldn't get away with denying them access to the public APIs that they offer every other AI platform. But this has put these two companies on a war footing, on a war relationship with each other, and it is going to be years before any sort of détente can be restored. It certainly is a good if you're looking for changes in relationships. Anthropic and Gemini are probably going to be the background characters whispering in Apple's ears, saying, "Oh, I'm so I can't believe they did that to you. Will you? Well, that's just horrible."
I might ask you, Christina, because you work in the AI business. OpenAI has just released last week a very, very strong model. 5.6. There's 3 versions of it: Sol, Luna, and Terra. I've been using it. It's very impressive. Some say even as good as Fable. But a lot of the people who use either models from OpenAI or Anthropic, and I'm going to include myself in this, do so kind of holding our nose because both of these companies are a little sketch.
Well, yeah, I mean, but I think this is kind of the place where we're at, right? Like where I think Andy's point is true about there is kind of this broader backlash about certain, AI things and how it impacts their lives. And some people, especially younger people, although it depends, of course, on what audience you're talking to, almost have like a viscerally like negative reaction anytime AI is mentioned or used in any context, no matter what. This sort of thing certainly doesn't help. At the same time, I feel like Apple has to be careful with this too, because what's the one big feature that they are pushing with the next version of iOS and macOS and everything else? It is, the new Siri and AI themselves. And I feel like I don't know if there's necessarily a way where you can argue cogently, oh, well, all AI is bad and all these companies are unethical except for us. Because it doesn't work that way, right? So it's one of those things where I have a feeling that for a lot of kind of the end users, maybe you feel like you're holding your nose, maybe you're feeling like, I don't know how I feel about some of the business practices of these things, but if the tools help you do what you're trying to do, or if you feel compelled to use the tools, I haven't seen people yet step in and say, I'm not going to use the tools.
Yeah. No, we're holding our noses, but we're thrilled to be able to use them. I mean, the other strong model that came out last week is from XAI, is Grok. So you
remember,
I
mean, I want to apply what they said about Tang Tan in that anonymous Apple person to everything in the tech industry. Remember, move fast and break things. I mean, this is a thing that has played back over and over again, and we are in the break things era where, and this is, I think, maybe one of the things Apple is trying to get at in the lawsuit is these companies. Yes, they have. You wonder about them in lots of ways that we've detailed here and lots of other ways, even though they're making a useful product, it's like, but they're losing money on it, but they're buying up all the chips and making every other computer incredibly expensive. And they've got weird marketing that sometimes is like, Anthropic's marketing is literally, we're the only AI company that cares if AI is going to destroy the world. And if it's going to do it, maybe it'll be us. Wouldn't that be great? It's so weird, so strange. But this is the question: is somebody going to stand up and say, well, wait a second, you can't just break all the rules because it's leading you somewhere interesting. And I mean, I think that getting on Apple's bad side like they did was a tactical error. That's the thing about this whole story that makes me think about this is I think it's just a mindset at OpenAI, and whether that comes from Mark Altman or whether it comes from not Mark Altman, Sam Altman. Mark Altman's the guy who wrote all those Star Trek stories.
There is a Mark Altman.
Starlog.
That's interesting.
Yeah, Mark Altman. Yeah. No, Sam. Whether Sam, the guy with a pop collar who had that was on stage at that Apple keynote that one time, whether it's him or not, like, is that the culture there? And did they go? Do they not care? I mean, that's really, I think my question
people think
is,
that's
do
the
they
AI
not
culture,
care?
Is that they don't care.
Because, like, it's easy for us to look at Apple's allegations and be like, why would you poke the bear? Why do you even need that stuff? You're hiring hundreds of the best and brightest at Apple to make your hardware division, and that's probably a smart thing to do. That sounds pretty good. Why would you come up with a scheme to steal documents? Like, why? Why even bother? And I think the answer that is at least being suggested there is because they don't see right or wrong. And if they feel like if they do something that benefits them, it's right.
Which I think is a valid thing to point out. I would ask this, though. If that's true, some of these people worked at Apple for 24 years. So what does that say?
Yeah. Also, I mean, you're right, absolutely right. I mean, it's relevant that just a week ago or 2 weeks ago, a class action suit moved forward about YouTube creators suing Apple for using their videos to help train their AI. And Apple's response to the suit is, well, you posted it publicly, sucks to be you. So to think to think that Apple is immune from these kinds of tactics, that look, if we can take it, we think that the repercussions are not going to be as great as the benefits of taking it, therefore the smart business choice is to simply take it. I don't think they would ever do something as horrible as what OpenAI is alleged to be doing, but I think that it's less of a thing about this is what the AI industry is doing, but as so much as this is what the tech industry historically has always done, and even just broadly, this is what large companies have always done. What is the downside to doing the quote unethical unquote thing, put into the spreadsheet? If the numbers say yes, go ahead and do it, we will go ahead and do it.
What a story. Well, we'll be, I think, covering this for the next 5 years. So that's good news.
We got content.
I do want to talk about Siri AI. The public beta is out. So that means the rest of us can now try it. Golden Gate is also out for macOS. In fact, iOS 27 public beta, macOS 27 public beta. It's everywhere but the Vision Pro.
Yeah, Vision Pro keeps just doing developer betas. There's never been a public beta for that, because why would you even need one?
Right, because it's a dev kit. Only people who should have bought it. It's a dev kit.
Exactly. 100% of people using the Vision Pro should be on the developer beta, by the way, because otherwise, what are you doing?
What are you doing? What are you thinking? We'll have more in just a little bit. We will talk about all of this stuff, and whether you like Siri AI. I've just started playing with it. By the way, the waiting list is almost instant. You do have to apply, but then they go, okay. so that's good news. I don't know why they even bother with the apply part, but maybe they were worried about too many people signing up. I don't know. You're watching MacBreak Weekly. Andy Ihnatko, Jason Snell, Christina Warren, and you. We're glad you're here. Our show today brought to you by ZocDoc. You know, for all the great technology we have today, I mean, we do have great technology. Booking a doctor's appointment can still feel like you're back in the 1950s. And that is just another reason why so many of us put off getting the care we should have, the help we need. Maybe you don't want to sit on hold. I don't blame you. Maybe it's endless phone tag. Maybe it's just one more thing on an already packed to-do list. And maybe it just is an excuse, because who really wants to go to the doctor anyway, right? I'll be fine. I'll rub some dirt on it. We've all been there. That strange mole. You probably should make an appointment, but then the days turn into weeks, and before you know it, months have passed. And by then, well, when you finally call, you find out the next available appointment isn't for another 3 months. That's one of the reasons I really love and use, I might add, our sponsor, ZocDoc. Did I mention that's the sponsor for today's show? ZocDoc lets you search and compare local, in-network doctors. And when I say search, they have more than 150,000 providers in all 50 states, 200 plus specialties, not just MDs, dentists, chiropractors, mental health professionals, really any kind of health professional you need. And here's the cool thing about ZocDoc: appointments happen fast, usually within 24 to 72 hours. In fact, in many cases, you can get same day appointments. And, if you finally get up the gumption to make that, visit to ZocDoc.com/MacBreak, you should probably just, let the inertia power you all the way to the appointment. You'll be glad. Your body, your health will thank you. Your health matters, and taking care of yourself shouldn't be complicated. Find and book the right doctor with ZocDoc. Go to ZocDoc.com/MacBreak to get started. Check that appointment off your to-do list. That's ZocDoc.com/MacBreak. Thank them so much for supporting MacBreak Weekly. And by the way, we thank you for supporting MacBreak Weekly by using that address, because that's how they know you saw it here. ZocDoc.com/MacBreak. And I've used it. I love it. It's really great. As I think you advised us, Jason, I abjured the developer betas and waited. And I saw yesterday, oh, good, the public betas are here.
Yeah.
And probably shouldn't have done this, but installed it on all devices.
All?
If you're going to go all the way.
On my iPad mini, on my iPad Pro, on my iPhone 17 Pro Max, on my Macintosh Mini. Okay. The only thing, not the MacBook Air that I'm using for the show. I didn't want to screw that one up.
Right. So, see, there you go.
Not all. Yeah. One remains. But I haven't had any problems. Did I make a mistake? Jason, did I make a mistake?
I don't think so. It's a beta. I have not run into anything that I would consider a non-starter. I think you just need to go in with your eyes open. And Leo, you're a veteran,
apps, right? That might not work.
There's some bugs. I haven't had any apps not work. Sometimes apps crash. Sometimes here's a Golden Gate quirk. Sometimes you quit an app and it doesn't leave the dock. Ooh, it's a ghost in the dock. And when you mouse over it, it says this app is running in the background. It's like, friend, that app is dead. I don't know why you think it's running in the background. It's just dead. But those are quirks. If you know that you're going to go in there and they're going to be quirks and you're going to have to, like on my iPhone today, I was like, oh, the settings app is non-responsive. I'm going to have to quit the settings app and open it back up. Or occasionally like, oh, things are real weird right now. Let's reboot. Or, hey, that shortcut that used to work doesn't work now. Maybe it'll work later. It's like, these are the things that happen in the summer when you're on a beta. If you know that, if you're willing to do that, then it's worth it. And if you're one of those people who refused to use Tahoe, you'll also get all the features that were in Tahoe in Golden Gate. So that's a nice thing.
You say in your review that you actually liked Tahoe.
I did, because of all the productivity boosts in it. I think it's Tahoe was the first major macOS version in a while that felt like Apple realized people use their Mac's productivity, and maybe they should add productivity improvements to the Mac. They also, I choose to look at the liquid glass half full, which is they could have done so much more to ruin the Mac interface with liquid glass. And it's like they're disinterest in spending a lot of time on the Mac made it less bad than it would have been. That said, Golden Gate fixes most of the issues with, the windows look better, the sidebars aren't broken, the toolbars, minor Mac interface features like sidebars, toolbars, and the menu bar. Who's going to notice? Anyway, those are a lot better.
I have to say, it is part of the onboarding process, at least on iOS, that it says, and how do you want your liquid glass? And it gives you the slider.
Yeah, with a slider.
So
choose.
Yeah.
When I talked to them, they said, we'd like to make a decision. We understand that there's design is often about making choices, but they say when they talk to people about it, there was a camp who really liked the liquid glass to be transparent and a camp that hated it and wanted it to be opaque. And they're like, okay, here's a slider.
I'm in the majority camp,
whatever,
which just left it. I didn't change the slider. It's right smack dab in the middle.
I left it in the middle, and I think it's perfectly fine.
I didn't even notice.
Yeah. Well, everything is so much like they kind of ate toolbars in Tahoe. Like the Photos app is a great example. There was not a toolbar anymore. There was just kind of like some floating glass buttons and then a weird hazy area that would change color based on what was behind it. And I put a screenshot in my story about it. Like in Golden Gate, it's not like there's no question. there's a toolbar up there. There's like a bar with a horizontal line, and above it, things are very opaque, and below it, it's the content. And like, I don't know why they had to make this meandering path to end up getting back where they started. But again, Golden Gate. So for all the Tahoe holdouts out there, yeah, you could just jump to the public beta of Golden Gate, and I think you'd feel a lot better.
I'm looking at your article at sixcolors.com. What I don't know what the toolbar is. I have it on my Mac Mini.
A toolbar.
But I haven't looked at it yet.
It's at the top of the screen where there are buttons. Top of a window where you can click on buttons.
Okay. Yeah.
That toolbar got like real diffuse or even invisible in Tahoe.
Oh, okay.
And in Golden Gate, they said
it.
yes. Actually, at the top of a window where there are buttons, there should be a clear bar there that the buttons sit on, and not floating in space or in front of a weird fog bank that rolls in and out, which is what it was like in Tahoe. So
this middle one is Tahoe, and the top one is Tahoe.
The top two are really Tahoe.
Horrible.
In that reference, it's because it would change based on what content was behind it. It would get dark and invert, or it would get light. And now there's just a toolbar. Again, tried and true. At the top of your window where there are buttons, there's a little bar that they live in, and not floating in space. Because why would you do that?
Good.
Why?
Christina, did you take the plunge?
I've got it installing on my iPad. I did not get my flight coming back from Germany was delayed, and never fly British Airways. That's my advice to all of you ever.
Cosign, never do it.
Genuinely never. Worst travel experience of my entire life. But because of that, I got home 24 hours late, and my bags then arrived 24 hours after I arrived. So I've got it installing on my iPad, but I haven't had a chance to play with it.
That's terrible. What happened? Yeah. They just delayed your flight?
So the flight from Berlin to London, which is a short flight, there was some sort of problem with the plane, and they needed a British engineer to fix it because of Brexit. And then British Airways would not let me. I was going to miss my connecting flight. They would not let me book my onboarding flight the next day until the original flight took off 8 hours later. They made me get my bags off the plane. Then I had to recheck my exact same bags onto the plane. They did make it to London, but then for some reason didn't make it into Seattle because of the day before, because originally the flight was supposed to be different. So I don't know, it was the whole thing. But yeah.
So why would you be rooting for England in that case?
Honestly, I don't know.
Checkmate.
That's a really good call. That really just comes down to my friends. But that's honestly a great point. Screw England, honestly. Screw British Airways.
Argentina, baby.
Let's go Argentina. Let's go. Yeah.
Show title.
We won't mention the fact that we're doing the show at the same time as the World Cup semis are going on today and tomorrow. I'm sure we'll lose a few live viewers, but this is a podcast.
That's why it's a podcast.
That's why it's a podcast. We can listen later.
It's really the hosts I feel bad for. I hope, Jason, you have a screen somewhere that you can observe.
Oh, yeah, it's right over there. It's right to my left.
Me too. I just turned it on. I had forgotten until Christina started talking about England. I thought, wait a minute.
World Cup. Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Let's back to the future. Have you played with what else are we talking about? Have you played with the photo? Well, I know, Jason, you've played.
Sure.
Nothing's new for you. This is all stuff you've played
I've been spending the last couple of months.
Yeah.
Last month, I guess.
I think the only thing really of interest
I'm still
to me
writing
was
27 on all my checks because I don't even know what year it is. As far as I'm concerned, it's 27 now. Okay.
Yeah, everything's 27.
Yeah.
I immediately, of course, tried the new Siri and was stymied immediately by the fact that it wasn't turned on.
Yeah.
You have to go into the settings and
they're going to market it as a beta, and you're right. They are worried about gating access to the models that are in the cloud, and that's why they're asking you to sign up for it. And you got in fast. So go to your Siri settings, but they have to and then press
the button, and you'll immediately, at least I did, get it.
Yeah, maybe.
Then there's the other thing that you see, which
is
that Siri is still thinking. Apparently, Siri has to optimize, and it's been optimizing since yesterday.
Yeah, it'll go for a while. What it's doing is it's downloading. So, okay, here's the thing about how Apple does this is not everything is on your device, right? Not everything is cached on your device. Not every email message in your email account, not every message in your messages. They're in the cloud, and they can be reached on demand. Apple needs to pull that content down to build an index. And so what's happening in the background is they're very slowly doing things like downloading older emails and then still older emails, downloading older messages and indexing them and then throwing them away, or they're cached, they'll get tossed away. But they have to do that because you might ask a question that requires an email message from 2 years ago. And so they're going to build that index, but it takes time because they have to, and they built in a system where it doesn't like download all of your email right away. They kind of like titrate out how much of that they do at any given time. So it very slowly is going to build up a whole personal history for you. It takes a while.
Yeah. I did, though, ask it yesterday because I couldn't get a straight answer. I said, what time is the World Cup final on Sunday? And it knew. It told me, which was nice.
The world knowledge stuff is way better. Like if we're talking, leaving the AI sort of agent stuff aside, I think if they had released this last year without any of that and just said, oh, we fixed our Siri like world knowledge problem, which they needed the last year because they said they tore it down to nothing and rebuilt it in the last year. But like, that stuff just works now. It's kind of amazing. I've been talking to friends who say a lot of the stuff they used to use just straight up Chat GPT for, they can use Siri AI for it and it's fine because it's like you're just asking basic questions. You're not asking it to write code for you. You're asking a lot of basic questions and follow-up questions and it just kind of gets it. I actually kind of wonder, talking about OpenAI, if one of the motivations OpenAI had to change their app to be this new app that sort of like puts codecs at the front and kind of degrades the chat experience is because they see the writing on the wall, which is like basic, super basic chat conversation stuff. Like Google and Apple are just going to do it.
Be quiet. I'm sorry.
Google and Apple are just going to do that. So because it's true, like basic questions you'd ask an AI, you can ask to Siri AI and get basic answers about what facts are, and it's pretty good. So like, I don't know, that they solved that part. The part that's open is the question of like it scouring through all your personal information and stuff.
Yeah, and I did try to ask it about a text message, and it didn't know yet. But later today, I'm sure it will. I do have to point out.
Goal! I just watched on YouTube TV, so it's delayed.
I do have to point out.
I don't want to feel left out, even though I'm not watching it.
I do have to point out that all of the pictures in your photos library that you're using this demonstration for
are from the World Cup. Yeah,
seem to be on a soccer pitch of some.
Yeah, that's from the World Cup game I went to. So I don't want to put all my family in there. So those are pictures that I took in Santa Clara.
You were actually there. That's really cool.
for the mighty matchup between Turkey and Paraguay.
The big one, or as we say, and everybody now says Turkey yay.
Turkey yay. And Paraguay was yay versus Guay, and the Guay won. So yeah.
It's like after last time we all said Qatar. Qatar.
Well, that's how you say it, and they want to say Turkey, but yeah. So Paraguay advanced. Turkey.
That was so funny. It
was booty yay and yay to Guay. That was that game that I went to.
Sounds like Igpe Attenlay.
Jason. Can I ask you? Have you installed the Apple Watch beta? Because I've been really, really interested in I don't have a compatible hardware to test it out now, but it really does seem to me like when the star ways to interact with a chatbot are just simply through a watch. Yeah. And I've seen like Wired wrote an article about it. A couple others were saying, "My God, this is exactly why this Siri is finally useful to me because I've got it on the Apple Watch beta."
When it works, it's very impressive because it does work by connecting essentially back to your phone to process those. When it works, it's very impressive. I would say it's the ricketiest of all the betas in that. And again, it's beta. I'm not going to judge it yet because I think they will fix this by the time they launch. But like, I do a lot of set of 5-minute timers, and it's not doing that so good right now. Sometimes it's like, I don't know what to do with this, and it's like, guy, it's 5 minutes. Just do that thing. But when it works, yeah, you're able to just talk to your watch and ask a Siri AI question and get an answer, and that's really nice. And or if you're out with like AirPods or something in your phone, obviously it works that way too. So I'm glad they did that, right? Because it's like technically that hardware doesn't really support Apple Intelligence, but like if you've got a phone that can do Siri AI, it should be able to do Siri AI. And so yeah, that's the ideal. But I would say it's really, really spotty right now. I think that they're still struggling to get that connection solid.
I did put it immediately on the watch as well. So, but I haven't had a chance to play with it much. You turned to talk to Siri? Does that still work? Or
I think I have all that turned off because I don't want I don't do any voice activation with Siri. I'm always going to press a button.
So how do you talk to Shlomo on this? You just say, "Hey,
you press you can press and hold the digital crown.
Okay, just like the phone.
Set a 5-minute timer.
What's the score in the current World Cup game? I wish I'd had this for making bagels the other day. It would have been nice to have the 30-second timer.
I got my timer. It took longer.
Results
because what it has to do is it has to run a little.
It has the correct score. It's up to the second.
Yeah, it has to run a little model, and I feel like there's optimization they have to do there because you want on the watch you want your simple request to happen fast, right? And I think they're not there yet.
And they should be able to optimize that. That should be a thing that they should be able to build fairly easily, where for tasks like that, like setting alarms and maybe timers, things like that, should not have to go through an LLM for. They should be able to siphon out what those requests are and then send it directly. Just because at that point it's really just a function. It's not. It doesn't need to be done on demand.
That's how it's supposed to be working on all the devices. Is that they've got a very simple thing that basically is determining, is this even a thing that I need to hand off, or do I know how to do this? Which is like, if you remember way back in the day with voice control, it's the same idea, which is this doesn't require intelligence because this is very clearly just asking to set a timer. So I'm just going to do that. And then another query will be like, oh, I don't know what this is. You figure it out. And that's how you want it to work.
So one thing you point out by the way, Hey Shlomo does work.
Nice.
Set a timer for 5 minutes. One of the things you point out in your Golden Gate review is that Sidecar is in macOS, which would only make sense if you had a touch.
Yeah, so Sidecar's not new. Sidecar's been around a while. Sidecar, and in fact, it's kind of became less, when they did universal control, it became less relevant. So Sidecar lets you use an iPad as an external Mac display. So it's like an extra display for your Mac. And then they did universal control, which I think is way better because it lets your iPad be controlled by your keyboard and mouse on your Mac, but still be an iPad running iPad apps, which is, I think, better than, because I would drag a Slack window over there and then I'd be looking at the Mac Slack window. And I'm like, why don't I just run Slack on my iPad and do that instead? So universal control was better. But what they've done with Sidecar in this version, and it's their transparent thing because we know what's going to happen. They're going to do touchscreen Macs, but they can't say that now. So they're like, oh, look what we added to Sidecar. It supports touch with your fingers now. It did Apple Pencil input before. And so it's basically if you sit there in front of it, you're using a touchscreen Mac as officially supported by Apple. And I am happy to report it's a super boring feature because it just kind of works. It's fine. There's nothing, I don't have anything really to say about it because it's exactly what you think it would be. You touch a window and drag it around, scroll a web page. It just all work. Tap a menu item in the menu bar, in the menu bar, and it comes down and you can tap. There's nothing to it. It's very smooth. It's solid. And anybody who's used a device that can do both will tell you, you're not using the touchscreen on a touchscreen laptop all the time, but sometimes you do. Sometimes your hands are up here and not down on the keyboard, and there's a web page open and you want to scroll it and you just reach out with your finger, and it's nice to be able to do that. And then you go back to using a Mac laptop and you go, oh no, it doesn't do anything. I've just put a streak on my display. So it's boring, but we know what it means, which is that Apple has basically built touch into macOS, and it's just a matter of shipping a laptop that has a touchscreen.
Yeah,
go ahead.
This is kind of the feature that the first time I used Sidecar like that, years ago, was like, why can I not just simply touch? Yeah. Because back in the 1990s, third-party rebuilders used to reassemble PowerBooks. I don't know if it was PowerBooks or MacBooks back then. If you could basically send your MacBook out to this company that would send it back with a USB-style touchscreen all overlaid on top of it, and it simply worked. And so it was kind of surprising to me they wouldn't just simply make that happen for the first version of this. So, but yeah, I agree with you, Jason. That definitely means that, well, if we wired this up for an unnamed touchscreen MacBook to be named later, why not? Well, let's just why hide the code?
Even in that, there's some APIs for developers to take advantage of touch in specific ways in their apps. apps, and there's no way to communicate that at WWDC other than to ship it somewhere. And so they've shipped it as essentially a test in Sidecar. And then obviously the implication, everybody knows what they mean by that. But it means that you could do it now as a developer and test your app in Sidecar and know that it's going to work great when they do a touchscreen laptop.
This is something that frustrated me. If I have a external USB screen that has touch, do you know if that will now work? Because it doesn't.
I don't know. I would doubt it. I think maybe this is just implemented as a Sidecar feature right now.
iPad, yeah. Be really cool if it did. I mean, was kind of my expectation that it would.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I'll try it. I can't try it right now. I'm busy. The other thing that is now here is talking to your shortcuts.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. You write a shortcut by telling it what you want the shortcut to be.
Kind of like AI.
It's the first
almost.
vibe coding basically for shortcuts. Yeah. And it's simple.
Thank goodness.
It doesn't do, it's just Apple's things. It's not third-party apps or anything like that, but it does it and it works pretty well. Sometimes it goes astray. Look, it's vibe coding. Sometimes things happen that are weird, but it works pretty well. And then they're also summarizing the steps so that if you click on any shortcut, it'll open this little box that tells you sort of what that shortcut does, which is kind of fun.
That's kind of cool. It must use the local model. That's part of the reason it probably isn't very good. I mean, if it used Fable.
Well, I mean, the problem is that they have built a custom system that involves, it's very complicated. It involves there's a Python intermediary that they use and all of this stuff in order to get it. Script, but it's a good start. I mean, this is the dream of user automation is you shouldn't need to know anything about programming to get your device to do something for you. And you have to know to go into shortcuts and ask it. I think the next step is going to be to just ask Siri to make a shortcut for you or make a thing that does a thing for you and not even know that it's a shortcut and schedule it to run every day.
Yeah.
They'll get there. They'll get there because it's all the pieces are there now. It will literally, you could say, when I connect to my shower speaker, put me in do not disturb. And I've written that the shortcut both ways. And if you just tell it when I connect to my shower speaker, put it in do not disturb, it pops up a little thing that says, which one of these Bluetooth devices is your shower speaker? And you pick one and it goes done. And it did it. It's pretty amazing. The trigger,
AI,
the actions, the whole thing. Yeah, it's not a surprise to anybody who's done vibe coding of anything, but Apple built this and they're going to deploy it to literally everybody just on their iPhone. And I think that that's cool. I think that's a good step.
Oh, it's huge. I mean, people like Christina who are doing all sorts of stuff with AI agents. Me with my Hermes, of course, it's much smarter because it's got all this stuff going on. It's got frontier models, but we're in the minority. I mean, this is going to bring that to everybody.
And I would go even further and saying, this brings it to a lot more people, but also even for us who have our own agents and systems like that, I've always really wanted to get more into shortcuts. What has stopped me, to be completely candid with you, has been the fact that it's been such a frustrating experience to write a shortcut that if you are it's such a terrible experience that the fact that people have created intermediary languages before Apple did so that they could try to write them in a more programmatic way, it's made me not do things that could be really valuable on my phone. And so I've had to rely on people like Matthew Castellanelli and Federico and other folks to put together really great shortcuts and then maybe make some modifications to them. But it's really prevented me from using this great feature on iOS because the method of creating the shortcuts themselves was so ridiculously terrible. So vibe coding or not, I don't care. The natural language, I think, is the ideal way to do this. I wish selfishly that there were a more programmatic way where I could write something in a text editor and have an easier way of manipulating things. But if that's not going to happen, I would much rather have this than have to go through the, strung and drung of setting up a shortcut previously, because now not only is this going to open up automation to millions of people who might not have otherwise done anything, this is, I think, even for some of us power users, is going to actually let us be able to enjoy our devices and our phones more. So I'm very excited about this. And I think that this is the thing that Apple has been probably trying to get to since they acquired Workflow however many years ago.
Yeah. Do you think it is Workflow in the background or?
Well, it was originally. I mean, they acquired
Shortcuts
it.
was. That's right.
Shortcuts
That's
was.
right.
And
Workflow
then it became
never
that.
had this capability.
No. But what I'm saying though is that like I think that
This is
that
something
goal.
they've always wanted. Right.
I think the goal was never to have this terrible intermediary, app language thing, which is such a slog to have to get through and to create anything with. I think the goal was always to be able to just tell Siri what you want it to do, and then it can build it on the back end, and none of us care what it looks like or how complicated it is or what the pipes are, and we shouldn't, right? Like this is finally giving us that.
Christina, I do have a question for you. You're in developer relations. You talk to developers all the time. It feels increasingly to me when I type code that I'm really an animal, that I shouldn't have to ever type another colon and a brace in my life. And I do feel like the world is moving to that point where it's like hand stitching, and almost everybody's going to be using a sewing machine. And so is that just me, or is
No, I think that's definitely more of a trend. And I think that what's interesting is just to see how much that's changed. And obviously it's been since, the models that were released in November, December time period and started to get really good.
It was Opus when Opus 4.5 came out.
I would say Opus and 5.4, right? I would say both of those moments were really good. And then things have progressed since then. I would say too, and I've talked about this with a number of my colleagues and friends, I think that what changes for people who are more experienced is that you spend less time maybe writing code, like you said. Maybe I'm not worrying about my braces or my spacing or whatever, but you spend a lot more time reviewing code.
Absolutely. And I don't even know though in the long run if we're going to review code.
I agree.
You're moving up the stack to more and more. You're going to be doing DevOps kind of things.
Well, absolutely. And I was just going to
architecture stuff.
1,000%. And that can change, but I think that we are still in that kind of phase right now where a lot of it moves to, okay, I'm not necessarily, because somebody asked me this question at the We Are Developers Conference in Berlin last week. They said, well, how much code do you write nowadays? And I go, you know what? Not that much. I'll make modifications, but a lot of it is reviewing what an agent is writing for me and then making modifications, based on that. We'll see how that goes, and I think that in some ways that actually for things like shortcuts and its forefathers, like Automator and whatnot, it really is great that we are kind of at this moment where that type of idea that came up 40 years ago or whatever is now finally in a place where actually this is not just how any regular Joe Schmo could build software. This is increasingly how professionals are building software too, which is kind of cool.
That was kind of my point. It's not just the unwashed masses.
No.
In fact, it's coders who are at the forefront of this. They're the most tired of typing braces. All right. A couple more places you're going to see AI emerging. Have you played with the Safari tab grouping feature? Is that worth anything?
It's interesting, but it'll even do it with your in the start page, which is what I use. There are a bunch of things like recently viewed items that they usually show you, and now those are auto grouped. So they'll be like, I was opening a bunch of tabs about the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum in Kansas City, and it's got here are 3 tabs that you used to have open about that subject, all grouped together.
Oh, I like that.
And then you can do that if you're a person who has lots of tabs. I'm not a tab addict, but if you're somebody with lots and lots of tabs, you can have it organize in little subgroups. So like all of your vacation planning can be a tab. And then you can move it off into a tab group, but it'll also like try to cluster them together by topic. So I haven't spent a lot of time with it other than seeing it in my start page, but they're just it's a very simple AI feature, right? Of take these things and group them together intelligently and give them all labels. And they're just trying to make the experience nicer.
It will auto name files.
Yeah.
Based on the contents.
Yeah. If it can look at the context, which I think is basically whatever the model can see. So like text files and images and stuff like that, it will pick them out and suggest them. I mentioned in my review that they need to do this with screenshots when you take them, because all the screenshots are just labeled. I'd love an option to say, why don't you name my screenshot what it is a picture of? Because they could totally do that. But they'll look at that screenshot later and suggest what might go in there based on its content, and the same with text files. It also works in the little pop-up where you can save. It'll suggest in there too. So there are a few places where they're just sprinkling this in there, which it kind of makes sense, right? Like if your computer can make some suggestions and that might be helpful to some people in some instances, why wouldn't you do it?
Yeah. And the password app now has some agentic AI to make you safer.
So Password app knows about data breaches and knows about passwords that are in the wild and that easily guessable passwords, and they flag them. The new version of Passwords has this agentic password changer thing that they've tried to build, where it will actually go in the background to the website that has the bad password on it, and it will go through the process of changing it. And theoretically, if they send you like a 6-digit 2-factor code, it'll sweep that up and enter it in and all that. And I tried it on several dozen, and it got right on 3 of them. So nobody can steal my IKEA password now. But it only worked on 3 of them. Password managers
have been trying to do that automatic password updating too for some time. It's a hard thing to do, I guess, because every site is different.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm not sure how sophisticated this particular approach is. I like the idea, though, right? The idea that you could fairly easily just tell you, like, that's why people don't change bad passwords, is they don't want to go to all those sites. Yeah. So if the robot will do it for them, why wouldn't you do it? It's just not very efficient at that right now.
Yeah. That's really on the websites to make that automatable.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
If you ask me.
Yeah. Get on it, IKEA.
You're reminding me this for the second time in the past 10 minutes about a paper that Apple's machine language group published about basically doing image recognition of user interfaces to be able to figure out does this app do, what does this button do, what does this menu do within context. And that's the second time I could see an application like that, application of this technology, where it's like, okay, we can figure out how to change a password through either a mechanism that's being supplied by the industry, or we can just sort of look at the password generation system of this website and figure it out for ourselves. And that is the second time it came up to me, because when we're talking about using AI to generate automation, this is another thing that Apple obviously wants every single app to be wired up to support Apple Intelligence and app intents to be built in. But it also means that there's a lot of stuff, even just for accessibility, where a website will never be wired up for that kind of automation. But if they have the ability to take a look at the interface that a user is looking at right now to figure out the steps of operations to make something happen through this web page, that could mean that in 2 or 3 or 4 years' time, we are no longer trying to figure out how to do things. We're just trying to cross our fingers and hope that our iPhones can figure it out for us.
There is a new firmware build that will take advantage of iOS 27 and macOS 27 for your AirPods. So you can't really force it, right? You just plug in your AirPods and
you gotta be nearby and hope that it happens. Yeah.
Customizable EQ. Redesign of the AirPods settings menu, easy to read labels, groupings. So will you not get that in iOS 27 if you don't have updated firmware on the AirPods? Is that what this requires? I don't know. We don't know. Someday, people will know. You could ask Siri, but it'll just check the web. So forget it. All right. It's time for our hydration break. You're watching MacBreak.
Pausa de hydración.
Pausa de hydración. And we will have more in just a bit with Jason Snell. Who are you rooting for? Is it Argentina, England, Spain, or France? Those are your choices.
Wow. England and probably France.
I admit I was rooting for Norway against England. I really was, because Holland is
Erling Haaland is great.
So cool.
Except I hate him because he plays for Man City, but otherwise he's great.
Oh, does he? Oh, good. Well, now I know who to root for in the Premier League.
Yeah. It's like rooting for the Yankees, rooting for Man City. Great.
It is, go for it. Do they wear pinstripes? There is a guy on the Spanish team named Laporte, so I should probably root for Spain. Mm-hmm. I don't know. How about you, Christina? You're going to go for England, even though British Airways did you dirt?
Look, Virgin Airways has never let me down. So in British Airways,
Virgin's British. You're right.
Well, I was going to say British Airways apparently isn't even owned by the Brits anymore. So whatever.
That explains it.
It really does. So honestly, probably still England, but I mean, go sports, go teams. I don't know.
Go sports. It's hard to root against Messi, but on the other hand, he's had his share. It's time to spread out a little of the love around. Andy, should I even ask you this question?
I'm rooting for the team with that guy who did that thing.
Yeah,
everyone was talking
too.
about. I like his spunk and his go get it attitude.
Yeah,
like everybody else. But I don't have to say it. I mean, I don't have to say the specific.
We know
name.
what you're talking about.
No need. We all know what you mean.
You're all sick of hearing about that guy, aren't we?
Our show today brought to you by Pebble. Now, this is a different Pebble than the watch. This is PEBL. Hiring fast is one thing, but hiring fast and staying compliant across different countries, whether it's Spain or France or England or Argentina, it's where things get tricky. And Pebble helps solve that tension. Pebble makes global hiring simple. Through embedded compliance and AI-driven workflows, the Pebble platform takes the delays and guesswork out of going global. So you founders and HR leaders, you can move fast without adding risk. Hiring abroad can take months. I know, we've done it when you do it on your own. But with Pebble, you can hire in over 185 countries, and you can do it in minutes. You could have your new hire onboarded by Monday. Most companies treat compliance as something to manage around, but not Pebble. By building a decade of expertise directly into the platform, Pebble removes the fear of mistakes and those dreaded regulatory blind spots. I mean, when you're talking 185 countries, that's like 185 different rule sets. Well, now, instead of juggling separate tools for contracts, for payroll, for benefits, for compliance, Pebble has brought that all together in a single platform that integrates with the tools you're already using. And it reduces redundant tasks and manual processes. And frankly, those can lead to errors and delay hiring. The result, you get a global team that's actually set up to succeed. Accurate pay, real benefits, and the support they need to thrive wherever they are. Bottom line, anywhere is possible with Pebble. With global hiring simplified, founders and HR leaders can spend their time focusing on what and where comes next for their business. Now, Pebble has a special offer for MacBreak Weekly listeners. Pebble is normally $399 a month per employee. Already a no-brainer for what you get, but right now there's a limited time offer on their site that makes it even easier to get started. Go to highpebble.ai before it's gone. That's highpebl.ai. Terms and conditions apply. We thank them so much for supporting MacBreak Weekly. Let's talk about the future. Well, there's a lot of things to talk about. We mentioned last week that the M6 is going to be just a blip. Apple's moving as quickly as it can to the M7. Malcolm Owen, writing at Apple Insider, says the M6 era will last just 6 months as Apple pushes for the AI-focused M7. Actually, he's really regurgitating Mark Gurman's Power On newsletter, which was the first, I think, to say that the M6 Pro and M6 Max chips just aren't going to happen. It'll be M6 nothing and then on to the M7. But the intended schedule to bring the M7 online 6 months after the M6, which makes it, if my calculations are correct, the first half of next year. So I think the real question for me is going to be, will there be enough RAM available to make this a useful machine?
That's the thing with all of this. Like, there's going to be an M5 Ultra Mac Studio coming at some point too, but like, what's that going to cost, and how many of them are they going to be able to make? And like, it really casts a pall over a lot of these future products, as we just don't know what the availability is going to be and what they're going to cost. The idea that there's going to be an M7 Ultra in 2028, I guess, that would be like, 1.5 terabytes of RAM, but no one will be able to afford it. So does it matter? Yeah, really interesting to see. Exciting to know. I mean, when we talked about this the last time, I just think that it's cool that Apple looked at their M7 stuff and thought, this is so good in terms of AI performance, we should just get there faster and not even bother with all the M6 hullabaloo. We'll just move on. And like, I like that. I like the idea that they're saying priorities. Like, this is because it takes them so much time, and they have obviously prioritized AI development now because they've seen how people have gravitated toward using Macs to do local agentic stuff, and that's good. But Yeah, hanging over all of this is that black cloud, which is like, well, that's really nice that you want to buy a Mac with lots of RAM, but you can't.
Well, I think there's an interesting point to be made here. We keep thinking of this as for individuals, but businesses are really sinking money into either their own local hardware with as much power as possible or private cloud. And I think Apple might actually be looking for the first time since they killed Xserve at the server market for this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to build their own servers, but I think what they found, and who knows where it will go, but I think Apple's already identified, and I've talked to people who agree with this, the idea that their company is uncomfortable having their data leave their offices. Mm-hmm. And it's not as expensive as these things might be. That thing I saw at WWDC where they had the 4 Mac Studios attached via Thunderbolt with a terabyte of addressable memory shared between them, running fairly sophisticated models entirely locally. I think Apple sees an opportunity to follow that thread, and with the M5 and then the M7 Ultra with lots and lots of RAM. And again, we're talking, tens of thousands of dollars
to buy that. But a company's going to pay that kind of money for privacy and security.
Exactly. And the idea that model is running locally in your offices, it's not even at your data center. It might be in your office with your data, and only you and your employees can see it. Like, I think there may be something appealing there, right? Like, and that's a place where Apple can play.
Where the puck is going. I think that's a very, so that's my contention, because no individual or very few individuals are going to want to spend that kind of money. But there is a market, and that is enterprise. And server companies. And I think that's a very interesting place for Apple to aim for.
Yeah, I also wonder if the jump to M7 is partially because of not only is RAM limited, but also simply manufacturing capacity is limited. If they're basically saying if we start booking the lines for production of M7, we're basically set for the next couple of years. Whereas if we have to retool after an M6 rollout, I'm sure that wouldn't be the only reason why they did it. I think that it would be because they thought of a bunch of factors and decided that that's also a factor as well.
I wonder if I was thinking about this too, Andy. It's like, well, what does it get them? And I think the answer may be as simple as if they never put the M6 Pro and Max and Ultra, if they never put those on the fabs, then that fab capacity is then available for them to do other things with it, right? And that's why you can get ahead. That if they put those M6s on, there's a cost to get all those extra M6s on, and then they have to run for a while, and then they come off. And maybe you just say, no, we're going to take those slots and use them for some other chips instead, and it lets them pull that whole thing forward and give them more capacity now instead of for this interim step that they decide they don't really want.
Yeah, they're suddenly living in a world in which they can't simply get capacity whenever they want, however they want it. Now they basically have to be another schmuck in line with their hand out.
Yeah.
And it can also be, I think, maybe acknowledging, okay, so we've had to alter our pricing once, we might have to do it more, but hopefully, they've made the changes they need to make. If we keep some of our, more lower end consumer devices maybe in market longer, or if we don't go up market, if we just have like the base M6 and we're not going to go any further until those things are available, that can also help us kind of weather the storm of this pricing instability period. Just continue to crank out the stuff that we've already fabbed. And to, both of your points, move forward on the next step when hopefully both capacities will be better and component prices won't be as terrible as they are.
Of course, the proximate big question mark is how much is the new iPhone going to cost? Counterpoint Research is suggesting like a $300 increase in the bill of materials for an iPhone 18 Pro Max compared to the 17 Pro Max. That's the bill of materials getting close to $1,000, which means the phone would probably get close to $2,000.
Which is going to be hard. Yeah, which would be really difficult, I think, honestly, because I do think that there is a price limit that people will have. Whether people want to agree with me about that or not, I think Vision Pro showed that there is a very clear price limit where people have. And I think that, for the foldable, that's a slightly different product. People are going to be willing to spend more than that. I don't know, like the Pro is their best-selling phone. Being $1,000 is already a lot. I think if you bump that into $1,500 or higher than that, I don't know, man. That's going to be a really difficult conversation for a lot of people, especially coming off of a year where and again, this is just unfortunate, the timing, where you literally had the best basic no pro iPhone that they've put out in at least half a decade, probably, 8 or 9 years. So no matter how good the 18 non-pro is, it is not going to be a good value comparatively. And I think that same thing with this year's pro model. Like, this was a really good pro phone, the 17. It's going to be, I think, difficult, especially if the price is higher, to convince people, I really need to replace my iPhone 15 with something that is $1,500 or more.
Yeah, there are a lot of variables to coordinate. They could do price increases. They could also make it so that, hey, wow, you want 512 gigs of storage? Great, but we're not going to make that available in the lower end models. You're going to have to go for a Pro to get it. Or they could do both. Google is having their Pixel launch event in a couple of weeks. I think it's mid August, and the price list has already kind of leaked out in the EU, and they're doing a couple of both. All prices are going up by $100 across the board. Plus, if you are interested in I think even in the top end, if I'm going from memory here, if you want this, it comes in a smaller size screen and a larger size screen, but you can't get the amount of storage you want unless you get the absolute top whack model with a larger screen.
And let's not forget, Google sells those in a fraction of the number of phones that Apple sells. So, but
it points out that it's a much more complicated list of variables for people to navigate if you're looking to replace a phone. And I'm using a phone that right now is several generations beyond out of date. It's got maybe one more year of official Android updates available to it. And even I'm trying to think like, oh man, how am I going to make these choices? And amongst these choices, even the idea of what if I were to get, instead of waiting for the Pixel 11, I just simply get the Pixel 10, which is being very, very highly discounted, has the storage options that I want, and I maybe have to forget about having the current generation hardware if I want to make my current budget for this phone go as far as I want it to go. Maybe iPhone people have the same problem.
I think a lot of people are going to be having that conversation, Andy, and I think it's not just going to be for phones, it's going to be for laptops, it's going to be for a lot of things. And this is why when the price changes happened a couple of weeks ago, I think I said on Twitter to people, I was like, look, if you need a laptop, the best time to buy one was yesterday. Otherwise, buy it literally. Buy it today. But if you don't need it, like if you are on something that is fine, if you can wait, another 18 months, which I know for some people it's going to be really difficult, then do. And I think the same is going to be true for phones and for other items. I think that this is going to be an interesting cycle to watch because we really did have such a strong iPhone cycle last year. My advice to any of my family members or anybody who doesn't need a brand new device, it's going to be like, either consider going to, the current gen phones before the prices go up, or see how long do you need to hold, because until we know what the pricing is, that's going to be a really difficult thing to ascertain. And there's not a universe where I feel good about recommending somebody spend $1,500 on an iPhone.
100% agree.
Well, the Ultra, the folding phone, according to the Kailan news agency, will be available in September. The only question is, will there be only 5 of them? So the supply chain says a number of Chinese suppliers are working on the phone to deliver in September. But Kailan says the production capacity limitations would see shipments of only 500,000 to 1 million units at that time. So, I mean, that's a fraction of the 10 million that Apple said it wants to make.
Yeah, that lines up with what Ming-Chi Kuo said last week.
Yeah. So what does that mean? It means we're going to get up very early and start mashing the buy button on the Apple Store.
That's a harsh one because you just on a matter of principle, it's probably not the greatest idea to get the first version of a brand new platform because they're not going to work out all the manufacturing problems. They're not going to work out all the logic board problems or the firmware problems. I mean, it's not going to be a disaster, but it's probably going to be the thing where you are part of the group of people that 2.5 years from now, suddenly the hinge is not as actionable as you might. Whereas if you had bought one in the second or third production run after they had gotten the first generation of hardware back through the Genius Bar about things and look at how things fail, it's boy, what a price for being first in line, because you are going to have to camp out to get these.
You won't even have time to look at the price. You're just going to have to get right in there and get it.
Yeah, get it and buy AppleCare is the one
Yes,
thing I will say.
Good point. That's one to buy AppleCare on. Boy,
Genuinely,
2 years worth. Yeah.
2 years worth. Yeah, I was going to say, pay the monthly fee, whatever they're going to make you do it. Buy the AppleCare. It's probably going to be $20 a month. Who cares? The price to repair the thing is going to be so outrageous. It's like a Vision Pro. You're already in for that much. Just go ahead and suck it up and do the whole thing.
Yeah. There are some rumors about dates and so forth. You're pretty good, Jason, at predicting the day of the Apple event. They're saying September 9.
Yeah, I mean,
September 8th or 9th is what Gurman's
well, the
saying.
7th, here's the thing. 7th is Labor Day.
Oh, okay.
So that won't be it.
So the 8th might be, they have done the day after Labor Day.
Traditionally, they didn't like to do it because they didn't like to make employees work. But now that all of this stuff is pre-recorded,
exactly. So they did this
really
a few years ago. 22, I want to say, they did it the day after Labor Day. I think they could do it again. So I think it's the 8th or the 9th. I just remember, the only reason I remember that is that my wife and I took a trip to the Eastern Sierra, and we were literally in kayaks on Mona Lake out in the middle of nowhere. And I'm thinking to myself, am I really going to be in Cupertino tomorrow? And I was. It was weird. It was just a weird thing. But they did it. So, day after Labor Day could be. So 8th or 9th, I think that's your best guess. It could be the following week, but it very rarely is. And I don't think it'll be the 1st or the 2nd because that's too early. People are wearing white slacks. Nobody wants that.
Yeah.
one reason to push it up is if there is a long period of time between announcement and the ordering day, it may not be the following Friday, in other words, for the Ultra, because
Sure.
Yeah. Right? So
they've done that before. I mean, they've also done that before. Like, what year was it? Was it the year of the 12 where you couldn't order it until like November or something? Like they've done that sort of thing before too.
Yeah, the iPhone X had that thing going on. They have a long history of a lot of with a brand new platform announcing and then not necessarily announcing an ordering date just to get it out there and just to make that hammer fall. And yeah, right now I'd be surprised if the announcement happened at the same time as the announcement of an actual ordering date.
I was wondering how long before I'd start to see ads from Major League Soccer from Apple TV on the World Cup, and I just saw one. They're smart, right? People are watching the World Cup, especially once it gets to the semifinals and final.
MLS wants to, I mean, I read a piece that said they probably should have been doing that in the U.S. games.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe.
Before,
the tagline, by the way, is "Thanks, world. We'll take it from here."
Yeah.
Okay.
Humble as
and they have, most of the people who are playing in the United States in the ad. I saw, obviously, Messi. Beckham, who seems to be a requirement for every World Cup ad. He must be making big bucks. I thought I saw Erlang. I don't know if that was Holland. I thought maybe that was a mistake in I am trying to do a show. But yes, they're clearly saying, hey, if you like this,
we have a whole product of domestic soccer that you should. I'm sure it'll give them a little bit of a bump. I think exposing people to soccer. I'm of the opinion that the biggest bump will come this fall when the European soccer leagues start and more people are interested. For example, you mentioned Erling Haaland and how you like him, and NBC is going to be very happy because they've got the Premier League and he plays in the Premier League. And that's a league I personally like. MLS, there's nothing wrong with it, but I think a lot of Americans are trained from their very youngest days to appreciate the very best athletes in the world playing the sports that we watch, because it's the best baseball players in the world, it's only American football players, but the best basketball players in the world play in the NBA, right? That's how it works. Right. The best soccer players in the world don't play in MLS. And so for those people, I think soccer in America has always been kind of a more shaky kind of proposition. But the influx of soccer fandom in the last decade, I think in large part is because you can watch all the European leagues on cable or streaming now. And so you can watch the best players and the best teams in the world as an American, and you have to get up a little early for it, but you could do it. So I think those ratings are all going to go up too. I don't think I think MLS will see a bump. I think they will, but I think also, CBS and NBC and ESPN, everybody who's airing European soccer, they're going to be happy.
I clicked the Premier League button on my YouTube TV to make sure get those games recorded.
Yeah, for sure. But I think MLS and Apple will see some benefit from this too.
Well, certainly when Messi came to play for Florida, that was a big deal.
Yeah, and Messi being a big star in this tournament is like it's double because they made more impressions about Messi and they have Messi, which is and it also I'd say gives them a little bit of a credential. Like people always say that this is where aging soccer stars come to cash in their retirement, right? But like Messi playing as well as he's played, kind of arguably puts the lie to that a little bit, where it's like, no, Messi still got it and he plays in Miami. That I think that is good for MLS.
As long as we're talking sport ball, I hate to try everybody's patience, but I did kind of want to know what you thought of we read your missive last week, Christina, but Tavis, or is it
Tavis or what?
Traller.
We're not calling it that. We're not calling it that. TNT is, I think, what they are calling them. Whatever.
Adam Sandler tied the
weird.
knot? Weird. I mean, as long as you're going to double down on tacky, you might as well bring in Adam Sandler.
Well, I mean, it was interesting that they were like close family friend. I was like, okay, since when?
Okay.
Which is great. But
friend of whose family?
Well, okay, so I did a little bit of research on this because this was curious to me too. So I guess
this won't go on long, folks. Don't worry. Okay,
no, don't worry. So apparently, his kids are huge fans of hers, like massive.
Okay,
and so
pretty much everybody's kids are massive Taylor
Yes,
Swift fans.
and she's very known for being very good to people's kids, and so she's apparently been very, very kind to the kids over the years, and like his daughters really, really love her. And I think that it was because of that connection that Kelsey had like a cameo in Happy Gilmore 2 last year on Netflix or something.
This is the payback.
So I guess so. Really, when I looked at it, I was like, oh, wow, you love him so much that you were letting Billy Madison, officiate your wedding. Okay, whatever. Do it.
Okay. So it's official. They're hitched. I saw there was some guy collected the trash off the ground.
Oh, it was so gross. Yeah,
at Madison Square Garden was selling it.
People were selling the trash. I was like, okay, come on, guys. This is really getting ridiculous. Also, like, and then they went apparently to Bozeman or something afterwards, which is a great place to go to Yellowstone.
That's where Paris Martineau was just there.
Can I just say that John has the most exquisite look of existential
He's
pain
so
on
angry.
his face
It's
right
so
now.
good. He's so pissed off. I love it.
You don't
Not pissed.
care
He
about
just looks like
celebrity
he's suffering.
gossip?
I just want to know.
don't.
All right, let us pause.
We're done.
For the fabulous John. Get your thumb ready. The fabulous Vision Pro segment. We'll get back to the sports gossip.
What do you know? It's time to talk the Vision Pro.
Should we have a Taylor and Travis jingle?
We should.
I recommend we just put it all in the Vision Pro segment from now on.
Actually, you know what? That's a great idea.
I'm sure there's more people interested in Taylor and Travis. So, the Lamborghini app is now out for Vision Pro. I'm sure you immediately downloaded that, Jason Snell.
No.
Okay. I have B-roll provided by the kind folks at Lamborghini to show you what you can now do.
It's great.
With your...
I'll put it on the same folder as my Ferrari app.
Yeah.
And my Gucci app.
Your virtual Rolex app.
Is it the fact that these high-priced brands assume that anybody who spent $3,500 on a nerd helmet probably would be interested in their product?
I think it's the other way around, right? They just figure that their audience has got a lot of money, and so maybe they can be cool.
Maybe
like
they'd be
this.
interested. All right. Other news: component development for cheaper Apple Vision Pros, according to the Elec, have been scrapped.
Not news. Not news. It's what Gurman already reported, that they're not gonna. They delayed what they're gonna do.
We already said that. Yeah.
But the
this
Elec is just rewriting other people's work, I guess.
Okay, so forget it. And I'm rewriting. I'm doing worse. I'm rehashing the rewriting of the original story from months ago.
The story was in my upgrade show notes yesterday too, and I lined it out, and I was like, "There's nothing new here, other than somebody confirmed with Samsung that they're not producing the display that they were going to display, but it's all just from that original Mark Gurman report that Apple is not ready to do another Vision a Vision
I'm just
Pro
gonna
at this
point
point
out-
because they're not. Of course, they're not.
That's why this is the nation's premier Vision Pro podcast,
Yeah,
and the upgrade is not.
We provide skepticism that is useful. In
just don't do the
discussing
story.
Vision Pro. Yeah,
And that's your Vision Pro segment.
Yeah,
That's
don't do
the
it.
latest one yet.
We're done talking the Vision Pro.
B-roll from Lamborghini and the story, a non-story.
non-story.
But at least we covered it. All right, let's talk about media. A bunch, 87, count them, nominations, Emmy nominations for Apple TV. I'm sorry, I
89.
I undercounted it. There's two
How dare
more.
you.
89. This is for the 78th annual Primetime Emmy Awards. The Diplomat, I agree, excellent. Wait a
Diplomat,
minute,
excellent.
was that an Apple TV?
No,
I thought that was
that's
no,
Netflix.
It was Amazon.
No, that's
Nope,
Netflix.
Netflix.
It's Netflix.
Netflix.
The show that got the most was The Pit, and even
Pit, of
though
course.
it's my favorite show, I think that it got too many nominations.
Oh, I see. This is all the drama series.
all-
The Diplomat,
yeah.
The Gilded Age, I agree. Night of the Seven Kingdoms, I agree. Paradise, I haven't seen. The Pit, I
That's
haven't
wacky,
seen.
fun.
Pluribus, yes. Apple
Yeah.
TV. Slow Horses, yes. Apple TV. Your Friends and Neighbors, Apple TV. I think the second season of that just destroyed it. It's too bad.
I agree.
The first season was good. Lead actress, Rhea, I got to say it right because I'll get an email from her co-star. Rhea Seehorn for Pluribus. Good for her. She should win, I would imagine.
It's going to be hard. She probably will. Well, Zendaya has won twice before. Most people didn't like this season of Euphoria, but the Emmys also likes to reward repeat winners, so it's a
Right.
weird category.
Taylor Darden, who you remember from The Fight Club, is also nominated for The Pit. I don't know how that happened.
Me either, because she shouldn't have been. She was in like 2 scenes and didn't have any.
But this is supporting actress Carolina Widra for Pluribus. Yeah, we love her.
Fun fact about Taylor: she actually submitted it herself, and that's why she got nominated.
Oh,
Yeah.
dear.
Yeah, because
Okay.
HBO apparently said we're not going to submit a bunch of people, and they submitted themselves and got nominated. So
Well, no, that was for best. That was for best guest actress.
Oh, that was for the guest. You're right.
That
Not-
was for
not
guest.
for supporting. You're right.
I was going to say for supporting. I'm pretty sure that they probably put Taylor forward. I think it was just nepotism. Honestly, the Academy is just like, oh well, Taylor Dearden and Fiona Dourif, both of their fathers have
Right.
been on TV before. We'll go ahead and give them a bone, even though Issa Barones is right there and actually did the work that was worthy of being nominated for. But anyway, I digress.
Wow. Who's Taylor Dearden's?
Bryan Cranston's daughter.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think she should win then.
I mean,
Just reflecting glory alone.
They just didn't
Look,
give her a lot to do in season
I was going to say, she's
good.
great. She's very good. It's just, I looked at I'm like, okay, you didn't have a plot line like that was worthy of being nominated for an Emmy. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
She was
yeah.
in 2 episodes. But
No,
you know what? People love-
no, she was in the whole thing. She just,
Oh, she was.
she just didn't have a lot of scene. Like her storyline, just in my opinion, wasn't very good this season.
But she, you know what? That's a good show. Everybody loves that show.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought Allison Janney as the vice president was quite good in The Diplomat, but
Yep.
okay. I love her. Lead actor, Gary Oldman, Slow Horses. You can practically smell him when you
Yeah.
watch that show. And I think that is good acting.
And it doesn't smell good.
It does not smell good. I think that's excellent.
Smells
acting.
like Emmy to me.
Noah Wiley will win, obviously, for the Pit. Billy Crudup in The Morning Show.
It's nice that they just keep nominating him and that show, like, even though it's like ceased to actually be like, and I still watch it because it's a soap opera and it's about like the morning world. I enjoy it, but like, it's not really a good show anymore. But but if you've earned the nominations enough times, like
It's automatic.
basically, yeah.
Jack Loudon, Slow Horses, which is an Apple TV show. And for Pluribus, Carlos Manuel Vesca, he plays that wonderful guy from the Paraguay. I don't know where he's
One
from.
of the Guays.
He's from Colombia, really.
Yes, he is.
Anyway, he deserves.
Manosos.
Manosos. He's so good in that show.
So great.
That's such a good show.
Great. It's a really
And
good
of course, there's a casting. This is why you get 89 nominations. There's a casting award for which Pluribus and Slow Horses are nominated. Comedy, Shrinking, I agree. Widow's Bay, kind of a dark comedy.
Well, yeah. If you run 30 minutes, you are a comedy according to the Emmys.
Margot's Got Money Troubles also.
That's good. Apple
good.
TV, and that's a good show. Yeah.
Yep.
It is.
Elle Fanning got nominated as lead actress
Yeah,
for
she's
that.
so good.
She was great in it. She's going to lose to Jean Smart, but she
Of
was
course
great
she
in
is.
it.
But
Jean
yeah.
Smart's an automatic, although
Absolutely.
I love Io Adebiri, and I think she should win every time, but okay.
Also
The Bears, I mean, the Bear hasn't been good in 4 years, though.
No, that's true. It kind of, it's too bad. It was such a good
It was so good, but Io is great. I agree.
Yeah. Dale Dickey for Widow's Bay. I don't even know who that is, which one that is, but good on you, Dale. The Outstanding Supporting Actress. Kate O'Flynn, who I do know who she is in Widow's Bay. Michelle Pfeiffer for Margot's Got Money Troubles. And Jessica Williams for Shrinking. There's 89 of them. Do you want me to go through all of them?
No.
Matthew Reese, Jason Segel.
Yeah.
Harrison
Dale Dickey
Ford.
was she's the cranky person who works with the mayor who ends
Oh,
up
yeah, she
doing
was
the
good.
overhead projection explaining who is
Lesbians,
related
dead baby.
to...
Yes.
You got it. You got it.
Yep.
Probably the best line of the year. And if there were an Emmy Award for best line of the year, that would be it. lesbian, dead
Dead baby.
Twice she says it.
I want to shout out Nick Offerman in
Yep.
in Margot's Got Money Troubles.
He was really good in that.
I mean,
thought.
you're up against Harrison Ford. It's going to be tough for you. And Stephen Root in Widow's Bay
Yes,
as well.
Stephen
Just
Root.
amazing.
Hell yes.
Stephen Root is so good.
Stephen Root's the best.
He's fantastic.
Christina and I have got Jimmy James in the back of our mind at all
sure do.
times.
We always do.
Macho
Always.
donkey, business donkey wrestler, Jimmy James. But Nick Offerman's performance in Margot's Got Money Troubles is spectacularly good.
Yeah. This is a tough This might be the toughest category of all, frankly. This is a really good.
Yeah.
Paul Downs from Hacks, Coleman
Downs is
Domingo, and the
great.
Four Seasons is good.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
good list. It's a really good list.
Yeah.
Good luck to all of you against Harrison Ford.
Well, that's the thing. Harrison is such a sentimental figure.
And it was a good year for his character in that
He's
show.
so
too.
funny.
So,
Also, Nick Offerman is nominated twice, as is Coleman Domingo. As is Matthew Reese. There are a few that are nominated for multiple awards this year, which is interesting.
it's a lot of. It's good for Apple.
Funny.
It's real good for Apple.
I was
think.
watching Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Because I hadn't seen it in a long time. It was on the Criterion Channel. And there is Stephen Root.
Yep.
Looking not a year younger, even though it's 30 years ago.
Oh, I know. He's such a good character actor. Well, it's so funny.
Good.
He's so good. Like every time I see him pop up on anything, I'm always so happy because I'm like, all right, there's Jimmy James, but also,
He plays the guy who owns the radio station who
Yeah.
records the singers. Well, anyway, I can go on, and I probably shouldn't, but lots of nominations, and good luck to all of the 89 people nominated. Apple TV, I think, deserves some credit for kind of building up a pretty good repertoire of shows now.
Yeah.
Some very good shows.
I mean, look, let's just call this what it is. Like when we look at least the outstanding drama series category, and in fairness, this has not been like a super stellar year for television. I think we can kind of admit,
Yeah,
but still,
I agree. Yeah.
when you have 3 of the 8 nominations, like that's really substantial. I mean, like Netflix is obviously, there have been periods of time where Netflix has had more successful runs than that, where like almost every single nominee has been a Netflix show. But having like 40% of the nominations just for outstanding drama series, I think is a really good sign. The fact that they're in every major category. It might not be like last year. I think it was pretty easy because the studio was so clearly like such a standout, and Severance as well. But in a year that I think has been pretty mid television wise, Apple TV has managed to put out some really good stuff, and that's great.
Bravo. Well done, Apple. They are going to be at Comic-Con with a lot of shows. This is another way you get the fans to get excited. Silo, Widow's Bay, and Dark Matter, which didn't get a lot of attention.
Oh, I love that show so
it's a
much.
Good show, yeah.
Really great show. I'm so glad that that there's a second season of it and that they're hyping it up because that's a really good show.
They have a sneak preview of the show's second season at Comic-Con if you're there. And Joel Edgerton perhaps will show up, which will draw some people.
It is interesting that this is the first time they've ever done Comic-Con.
Yeah.
That makes sense because Apple would be hubristic enough to like they would have that level of hubris to
We
be like,
don't need that.
we don't need that.
We don't need
but
that.
like, but you absolutely need that. Come on, like everyone does. So I'm glad they're at least showing up.
Yeah, including with panelists just Apple TV. They have panels for individual shows, but just one for Apple TV's lineup as it is as an organization. So that should be interesting.
And if you've been wondering, as I have, where are the great pickleball dramas? Apple TV is going to have some.
Oh God, why?
Leo, if you've ever been like at a public park where the tennis courts also double as pickleball courts, I guarantee you have seen pickleball. You will see
That's
pickleball
true.
dramas as two competing sports try to claim the exact same turf at the same time.
Yes,
drama,
and we
man.
always play
Leading
on
to
courts
tragedy.
That's
say-
the third season of Beef, Andy, right there.
that would be a good season, actually. The fight over the court. Lisa and I play our pickleball games on a tennis court that has clearly labeled only for tennis. But I'm feeling like that's only for racket sports. They just don't want people roller skating in there. That's what I'm thinking. We did buy a box of 36 pickleballs. Because Lisa said, but they were on sale. And so anyway, the new pickleball show on Apple TV is called The Dink, which is the sound that a pickleball makes when you hit it with that solid plastic racket. It's more like a doink than a dink. But anyway, former tennis prodigy Dusty Boyd has been reduced to coaching unruly children at his father's suburban country club. Desperate for his father's approval, he blindly supports Chuck's vendetta against the new craze taking over the club, pickleball. But after getting injured, he not only tries pickleball, but falls in love with Mary Steenburgen and finds himself actually enjoying it, as one would, playing with Mary Steenburgen.
It's Caddyshack meets the Mighty Ducks. I smell money.
That was the tagline that they pitched it with. And you're exactly right. Andy Roddick is in it.
Weird.
If you're a
That's very
tennis
weird.
fan. Anyway, that comes in just a couple of weeks, July 24th, 10 days from now, you'll be able to watch The Dink. And as long as we're talking TV, it almost was in our in memoriam section. The wonderful TV Time went out of business, but guess what? It's coming back at the end of the month as Bingers.
Okay.
Now you might look at that and say it's Bingers, but I'm pretty sure it's Bingers.
I wish Hostess would bring that back. That was my favorite snack
Bingers.
cake.
Weren't those great? I think it was
They
Dolly
got the
Madison.
strawberry and the chocolate. It's like, you don't
Dolly
see that.
Madison's Bingers were the best. The new app will do, as TV Time did, let you track TV shows and movies, set reminders for new releases. Apparently, the TV Time was sold by the founder, Anthony Pinto, to Whip, I'm going to say that right, Whip Media in 2016, 20 million registered users by 2021, then sold, and this was the big mistake, to a private equity company known as Blue Torch Capital. If you build something, Blue Torch will burn it down.
Yeah,
Is
because
the motto.
blue flames have a very, very specific connotation that works so well in this financial context.
They had plans for a more AI-heavy approach. They shut down. Actually, they're shutting down tomorrow.
Yep. So if you haven't gotten your GDPR data out, get it out ASAP,
Get it out.
because
Blue
there
Torch is about to come in. So Bingers is being brought back by Pinto, which is the original creator, which is awesome.
I mean, that's cool. There's also Serialized. There are already a number of different, apps out there that do this sort of thing. Although I think that everybody should be. I've been following this sort of app sort of thing for a long time. I'm sure Jason has too. There have been like the graveyard of apps is littered with things like this, and unfortunately, which is why there's a part of me that's almost like maybe I should just build my own and like for my own purposes, not to really share more broadly with people, and then have a way to mirror them with apps if I'm actually using other people's things. Because I think this is like the third or fourth time that my tracking app has died. And Letterboxd has been promising that it would bring TV, tracking for years.
Now.
It's just movies. And then the thing with Letterboxd is that there are reports that Sony, Paramount, Alexis Ohanian, Netflix, and others are all in talks to acquire Letterboxd, which will ruin it, right? Because it'll be fine at first. If Netflix buys Letterboxd, it'll be fine until the executive that buys it leaves, and then it will be dead. So, but Tiny is not making any money off of it. So
if you're a TV Time user and you're worried that tomorrow is the last day, go to Binger's website, which is easy to remember, bingers.app. And you can apparently import your data. If you create your account, you can import your data from TV Time, and then when Bingers comes out,
exactly. I was gonna say, just go. There's like a GDPR page on TV Time. Download that data, and Serialized already supports the import, but just save it, and it looks like a Bingers will do it too. So yay.
What do you all, just out of curiosity, use and recommend for this?
Stay tuned for my pick of the week, Leo.
Ah, yes. I was hoping. All right. Picks of the week are coming up in just a moment. You're watching MacBreak Weekly with Jason, Andy, and Christina. And we want to welcome our newest viewers, Taylor and Travis. It's good to see both of you in the audience today. In fact, I'd like to invite you, since you have more money than God, to join Club Twit. It's only $10 a month, and you'd get a fabulous bunch of wonderful prizes. You get ad-free versions of all the shows, and those ad-free versions have chapter markers, so you can skip right over the stories about Taylor and Travis. Just go right past them easily with a click of a mouse. You get access to the fantastic Club Twit Discord, the best hang in the whole wide world, because it's a social network where people pay $10 a month to be there. And as you might imagine, that brings the level of the whole thing up quite a bit. We also have some amazing shows, including our AI user group, lots of events going on. I think we've got Chris Marquardt's photo show is coming up. Micah's Crafting Corners tomorrow, 6 p.m. You could sit down and do some chill crafting with Micah and company. It's just a very nice, relaxing place. Photo time is on Friday. And Micah's Media Club right after. And The Matrix is our movie of the Media Club this month. So, yeah, I know.
Nice.
I know. Well, we have a vote, and The Matrix won by a landslide. The following week, Jeff Atwood is back. He was also at the Developers Conference in Berlin. I don't know if you went to his talk. He was talking about Stack Exchange and how important community is. Really good talk, which is up online, I think. Jeff is always a lot of fun and always interesting. Home theater geeks, hands-on tech. Our AI user group, I'm loving it so much. We're debating about going bi-monthly, doing it twice a month, because there's so much to talk about with AI, and it's really great to get together with other people who are like us, hobbyists, experimenting, dabbling in AI, doing some really interesting things. It's a great way to learn what's going on in AI. That user group meeting is usually the first Friday of every month. It'll be August 7th next month. Stacy's back with her book club. We're reading Slow Gods. Oh, that's going to be fun, from Claire North. So that'll be August 21st. Just some examples of the things that you get in addition to all of our fine shows. And most of all, the warm and fuzzy feeling knowing you're supporting independent podcasting. Blue Torch will never buy us. So as long as you guys continue to support us in the club, twit.tv/club twit. And now it's time for your picks of the week. And I think we should probably kick things off with Mr. Jason Snell, since we don't want to keep people waiting.
Okay, TV time may be gone, but television time, a different app exists, and it is the one I've tried so many different apps to log my TV and be able to know. It's not even about the logging so much, it's about the what's up next. What am I considering?
Yeah.
Somebody recommends something, I add it to my list.
It's
what
really
episode,
hard to keep track of.
when is the next episode dropping?
Yeah.
Where am I like to pause between seasons a lot of the time, so it's like I finish that season and then know the next season is coming, and I can watch it whenever I want because it's sitting right down there. I have fallen off of so many of these apps, but not Television Time. Television Time is stuck for me, so I recommend it. There's a free trial. It's a subscription app eventually. You install it, puzzlingly, the short name that appears on your iPad or iPhone screen is TV Time. But I assure you, it is not TV Time. It is Television Time, an entirely different app, and it's very good. So I use it. That is what I use now, and I've stuck with it for, I think it's been like a year now that I've been using it to track when we sit down to watch something. I just open up my iPad and I look at what's available, and then we'll pick something, and it's great. And then I can also have the little queue of everything that is coming up that I can watch at a later time. It's great. I highly recommend apps like this if you haven't tried one, and if you are a bereft TV Time user and wish you could have another app that says TV Time at the bottom on your device. Guess what? You can. It's Television Time. That's the one.
And I like it that it's Mac as well as iPhone and iPad. So, and does it sync among all three? I presume it does.
Yeah, well, I think so. Yeah.
So that way, you could have wherever you are.
Wherever you are.
Yeah.
Television Time is there.
I'm signing up right now.
Television Time.
Television
not TV
time.
Totally different.
Lots of
different.
good. Yeah, it's not TV time, despite
Television
the name.
Time.
And Blue Torch will never acquire it.
I mean, I'm a little worried now that maybe they will, but they haven't yet.
What a great name for a private equity company. Andy Anako, pick of the week.
This is a really fun one because if you've ever been a geek for any amount of time, you're familiar with Conway's Game of Life. It's a cellular automaton where basically
put it on your play date.
It's about, well, that's not, I'm just going to show you like how people who aren't familiar with it, like basically how it works. That basically it's just like it simulates life with pixels, because for each pixel like in the grid will either live or die depending on how many adjacent pixels are lit up. And so as it goes through life cycles, it just changes in a very organic way, and you can click on things and basically put new living pixels in, that sort of thing. And this is what we're used to basically seeing it with, very low resolution, like pixel art that moves. And it's satisfying as it is, and there are implementations of it everywhere. Again, this is a version of it for the play date, which I love. However, recently I found out that someone made a version of it that is designed to take advantage of modern processors that don't have to go at like 2 frames per second, and modern screens that have millions and millions and millions of pixels on them. And so I found it's called Colorful Life. It's hosted on GitHub, jackstreet.github.io/colorful life. And it looks amazing. It looks like you're space aliens watching from a light year away, civilizations warring with each other and basically trying like hell to drive each other into extinction. Because it's not like, again, step, big block, big block, big block. It is these clouds of colorful pixels that keep flourishing until a point in which it's unsustainable to sustain itself, and starts collapsing. Meanwhile, and this is like something that's been part of the Game of Life for a long time, some of these structures, because of these rules, have quirky things where they will actually like walk in a line from one place to another. Some of them will actually fire off pixels into certain dimensions. So basically you see, I wish there was a way that I could put it more than like missiles being fired into other communities. But the thing is, like, it's just such a beautiful, beautiful representation of data. And of course, you can use your mouse or pointing device to actually just draw new pixels in instead of like click, just draw a swath. So you can kind of play God, because if you see that, oh, there's part of this screen where civilization dots have died out and nothing is happening, I know I will create life in this section by drawing through it. And it's got all the Apple colors, rainbow colors. is just it's like a lava lamp you could interact with. It's just such a beautiful, beautiful thing.
Is it using the Game of Life rules, or is it?
Yes, it's, as a matter of fact, there's detailed controls so that you can actually choose what kind of version of Game of Life you want to play. The classic one, there are rules that have been set since the 1970s, but there are Game of Life rules for, well, what if you want it to be just a horizontal line? What if you want to do, you can change some of the visualizations, you can change like how it renders, and of course you can zoom in if you want to feel like it's old school. So you basically do see individual pixels, and you do see like the familiar shapes of groups of pixels that are just very, very stable. They are not going to change until they get hit by another pixel. Like I said, it's like Texas. It's like Tetris without the pressure. It just puts you into sort of like a beautiful, like meditative state of just watching this go. And it's just, I wish this were available as a screensaver, and maybe someone has done a version of this as a screensaver, but it's just a beautiful thing.
It is really cool. And it is on GitHub, which means I can take it and I can apply it to my, let's say, file system and have each dot represent a megabyte of data.
Congratulations. I've managed to free up 128 gigabytes of your SSD through means that you probably are not going to approve of. Oh,
I'm going to rename it to Blue Flame. And this is really cool. I really like that. I don't know how you found it, but I really like this. It's a
believe it or not, it was from a video of Usagi Electric, who restores 1950s, 1960s computers. And so he wanted to create a version of the Game of Life for basically a computer that only runs off of teletype. And basically he showed this off as to explain people what the Game of Life was. And I've been sort of obsessed with this thing like for the past week.
And when you zoom in, you can see the actual, you immediately could say, oh yeah, I get it. It is the Game of Life, because I could see the generations. Very, very interesting what's going on here. I like it. Okay. Christina Warren, I think that leaves you and your pick of the week.
Yes. And so this is one, I've kind of mentioned this app, I guess, kind of obliquely, but I haven't talked about it directly on the show before to make it a pick. But because it became available to all plans last week, and even if you don't have a GitHub Copilot plan, you can use the app by bringing your own API keys or using local models. I did want to point out that the GitHub Copilot desktop app is now available, and it's actually pretty good. So if you've used, it's basically it's similar to Codex or other kind of coding kind of first apps, but it integrates well with your GitHub account, so you can see issues that are assigned to you. You can see comments that people have left for you, or you can just use it as a way to create or open up an existing repository, whether it's hosted on GitHub on your local device or somewhere else. And then you can choose what models you want to use with it. So you're not beholden to just the Anthropic models or OpenAI models. You can use models from OpenAI, Anthropic, Google. We got support for Kimi K2.7 code recently. But also, if you don't have a GitHub a Copilot subscription, you can bring your own key, or it can work with Olama or Foundry Local to work with local models too. So
is this an agent like
it's a harness
or Hermes? It's a harness it's Open Code or Claude Code.
Exactly, except it's a GUI. So we've had a CLI for a while now that's actually pretty good. The GitHub Copilot CLI. This is basically that, but with kind of a GUI on top, so that if you are managing, so if you're managing multiple sessions, it can be really, really good. And I spent a lot of time last week actually in Berlin showing it off to people, because most people haven't heard of the app or haven't used the app.
I had never heard of this. Yeah.
I was going to say most people haven't, and I was waiting until we made it available to everybody to talk about it, and that happened last week. So give it a shot. Also, we would love your feedback, good, bad, whatever, because the team is actively making changes to these things all the time. And the app, I think it's getting pretty good. So would love your feedback on it.
What we've learned, and we talk about all the time on Intelligent Machines, our AI show on Wednesdays in our AI user group, is that the harness is at least as important as the model. Yeah. A good harness can change everything with memory and sub-agents and so forth. That really can make your model I'm going to try it with my local Ornis and see. Yeah, would love
love your feedback on anything. But I mean, just wanted to throw that out there. I think it's a good app. It's also nice because you can integrate it in with like your own custom MCP servers or skills or anything like that, and it's really nice.
Yeah, I have a lot of those that I've developed over time with other harnesses, and it's the OpenAI API, I would guess.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So as long as like your model is hosted,
Everything but Claude, basically.
Well, except that you can. I mean, the skills is an Anthropic thing, and so it supports those. I mean,
Right.
and if you have an Anthropic API key, you can bring that with it. You just can't. You just can't use.
You have to use tokens. You can't use subscriptions.
Anthropic won't let you use their subscription with any other harness. Now, we don't care. If you want to use your Copilot subscription with open code, go for it.
I know there's the risk that they're going to kick me off, but they don't seem to be enforcing that. So I have been using the subscription, from my Claude Max subscription with other harnesses. But I know I'm playing with fire.
Right. I mean, and then there's been some, I think, back and forth about their own stance about how much they'll enforce it or not. All I know is that they've made
You don't recommend it because you shouldn't get on
not only that, but like they've made it very difficult for us as builders to integrate with anything else. And so there might be a way to work around it. But if you do that, just know that, your subscription might be at risk. But you can bring your own Anthropic API key or API keys from any OpenAI compatible LLM. If it's hosted on OpenRouter or something, you can use your local models with OLLAMA. And if you have a GitHub Copilot subscription, which gives you access to a bunch of different models, obviously it works with that too. So
I can't wait to try it. I'm going to try it right away. Thank you.
Yeah, please give us your give us your thoughts.
And it's as you said, free to individuals like me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and then there are higher level.
Well, right. Well, and the plans are just basically.
Models,
I was going to say that's including the usage. Yeah, the app itself, like I said, if you want to bring your own key or bring whatever, that's fine. Yeah, the harness is free. Yep.
Nice. Thank you, Christina. Christina Warren works at GitHub. Amazing. You call that work? That sounds like pleasure. We're glad to have you back. She's in developer relations there. You'll find her everywhere as film_girl, and you'll find her here every Tuesday. Thank you, Christina.
Thanks.
I'm going to also get that GitHub jersey. I love that.
Yeah,
it's so
good.
Cool. It's so cool. Andy already has one, I'm sure. Andy.
I've got it open. It's above my impulse buy level, but it's like, who am I kidding? I will probably break out and buy it next week.
It's less than a month of Claude Max Plus, so think of it that way. Andy is at inaco.com, his brand new website. He is welcoming, of course, browsers, free people, but if you want to join and support Andy's work, that seems like that would be a very good use of your money. IHNATKO.com, loitering at tech's intersections. Thank you, Andy. And of course, Jason Snell, sixcolors.com. Always a pleasure to see you. Jason has many, many podcasts. He mentioned Upgrade. All of them are listed at sixcolors.com/Jason.
Yes.
It is not the premier Vision Pro podcast in the world, but
it is not.
Otherwise, it's really quite excellent.
Yes.
Yes.
And if you would like to get on the bandwagon, we're still taking late pledges for Designed in California, my new history podcast at designed.fm. Or you can search for it on Kickstarter. And eventually that will move over and be a membership podcast at Relay. But right now it's at designed.fm, and you can become a member there, and you get a year of lots of special bonuses, including ad-free episodes and bonus episodes, and all the episodes for a series drop at once instead of making you wait week by week, which I think is a really nice feature. And I just wrote our first full series, and I think it's going to be great. So
exciting.
People should check it out.
Yay. Design.fm. This is not some AM radio thing. This is stereo high fidelity.
That's right.
No static at all.
That's right. It's Federated Micronesia.
Thank you, Micronesia. We do MacBreak Weekly every Tuesday, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 1800 UTC. You can watch us live in the club, of course, in the Club Twit Discord, but also on YouTube, Twitch, X, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Kick. Chat with us if you're watching live. After the fact, of course, you can always watch at your convenience. You'll find the show at our website, twit.tv/MBW. There's audio and video there. Video on the YouTube site dedicated to MacBreak Weekly, youtube.com/MacBreak Weekly. And of course, it is a podcast. So if you search for it in your favorite podcatcher, you will find it. You can subscribe. There's audio, there's video, and that way you'll hear it automatically as soon as we're done. Thanks to our producer, John Ashley. Appreciate your good work and putting up with the Taylor Travis news. He really doesn't like that, but
he really doesn't.
Yeah, but we managed to gets through it. Thank you, Jen Ashley. He didn't pass out or anything. We will see you all next time, but unfortunately, it is my now sad and solemn duty to tell you, you, my friend, especially those of you working at OpenAI with Apple laptops, need to get back to work because break time is over.